Hello and welcome to episode 54 of the ABC podcast. My name is Alex and I am joined once more, yet again, by Broadway Brandon Park.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yes, I did not realize you were such a talented thespian.
I am not.
Just take the compliment, Brandon.
I take the compliment, but I'm also modest. I actually don't think I am. In case you guys are wondering, I was recently in a play, and Alex and Robin actually saw me in it, which I was not expecting. And yeah, so thank you for seeing. I can't say it's my play because I only had like 10 minutes in it, but thank you for coming out to see the play, I should say.
Thank you for performing for us.
What'd you think?
Overall or like your...
Okay, first overall.
Okay, alright, so real quick, for those who are not aware, so the play was called Ampersand 2.0, and it was 10 like one-act plays, about 10 minutes apiece. Mm-hmm. And Brandon's was Stuck, is that what it was called? Yeah. So the plot summary. Oh, you wanted my overall thoughts. It was good. Obviously some were I liked better than others, but I didn't hate any of them. I thought all the performances were pretty good. I'm not like super into theater or anything, so I don't have any like critiques. It was just like, this is good. It was $5. Took Robin on a date. It was fine.
Nice.
Anyway, so Brandon's was called Stuck, and he played a returning Afghanistan vet who was living in an airport. He was going to Phoenix, and the flight was overbooked. And instead of dragging him off the flight, they offered him $500 and a ticket on the next flight. So he gets off the plane, takes the money, sits around, waits for the next flight, same deal. Over and over and over, 59 days in a row, $59,000.
118 times.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, and so then he's telling this story to like a barista type of person who works in the airport and had seen him for the last 2 months. It was an interesting story. Very, very implausible that would happen so many times in a row, but I mean, like, who really cares? If I was in his situation, I would definitely do the same thing.
Yeah, I know, right?
That sounds like really
$59,000.
I mean, but you also have to consider that he didn't have a place to sleep and he couldn't take a shower.
True. Well, I mean, he said he could like go to a motel if he wanted to sleep.
Yeah, that's true.
And my character looked pretty like at least decent, right?
Yeah.
Even though it was just basically what I wear on a daily basis. But yeah, so that was one of the big things that's been new with me. I helped put on this big like praise and worship concert at my university, so that was a thing. Enough about me. What about you? Because it's been a while since we recorded.
Yeah. Because too long.
We've been busy. I was busy. You were busy because Robin got sick.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Real quick before I talk about me, like, what did you think about the play?
What I think about the play?
Yeah.
Like my scene or overall?
Just overall.
Overall, at first I didn't get a chance to really appreciate it because when I was doing Tech Week, oh my gosh, that was so long. Like some days I would be at the theater from maybe starting at 6 p.m. and I wouldn't get out to like 11 or 11:30. So it was long. So at first I was like, okay, let's just get this done. Just teach me how to do the cues, because in this particular play, we didn't have stagehands to help move the set.
Right.
The actors, since it was such a big cast, they had us move different set pieces and platforms and whatnot.
And you all got to wear little conductor hats.
Yeah, we're supposed to be like bellhops.
Okay.
But yeah, like once I started seeing it in the entirety of everything, I've always appreciated everybody's acting and everybody's kind of commitment to this stuff. And like you said, some of them I like better than others. But
did you have a favorite one?
No, I didn't have a favorite one actually, because they each have their own like unique quirk and quality to it, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
So when opening night happened, I don't know. It's kind of like how we talk about like when you see a movie in the theater, it's a different feel from watching it on just DVD. You kind of have a similar reaction to when you watch a play in the theater. So when I see it, there's like this really weird, like, I guess, atmosphere that goes on, especially when you're behind the scenes. I was a little bummed out that I didn't get to see any of the productions from like, the audience seats. So everything I saw was either behind or I just kind of heard it.
Right.
But, everything kind of flowed together really well. And I really liked it. And I liked how my particular scene came out too, because I didn't have to do anything drastic. I was just like sitting around and talking for the majority of it. But there was a lot of talking. Like, I don't know if you know this, but my scene was probably one of the longer ones, because me and my co-star, we each like talk a lot. We take turns taking a lot of like monologues, and mine, like, I think for maybe a page and a half, I have like these huge chunks of paragraphs where I have to talk, and I've never talked that long before. So it was hard, but I really liked it. But anyways, back to you.
Okay.
Back to you.
So me, I've been growing this beard, playing a lot of Zelda. I officially enrolled in law school, which
he got accepted to.
Well, yeah, that happened a while ago.
Oh, you didn't tell me? I was about to give you an applause, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you the applause.
Thank you. I don't think I've mentioned it on the podcast. I've been trying to keep it kind of quiet because I was really nervous that I wasn't going to get in, and I don't like making, announcements about like, oh, this is my plans until it's like set in stone. So I put $500 down, so it's definitely happening now.
$500.
Yeah. Well, actually, I had to borrow it from my parents, but
can you believe that?
What I mean? No, I can't. So yeah, I will be attending Syracuse School of Law in the fall, which I don't know. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I've never lived outside of Houston, so now I'm moving like 3,000 miles away. It's upstate New York. It's like 3 hours from New York City.
You're gonna be a Yankee now.
I know. But anyway, my sister did it, so I'm sure I can do it. Although I will have Robin with me, which is either going to make things better or worse. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how that shakes out. But yeah. Anyway, so like I said, I'm nervous. We're trying to like figure out logistics and stuff, but honestly, we've got a lot of other things that we have to take care of before that happens. So yeah. But anyway, those are the main things that I've been up to.
Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe not cool, but at least, new things are popping up.
Yeah. No, I feel very grown up, which I don't like feeling grown up.
Yeah. That's pretty much the consensus I get from everybody. This is such a weird opening.
I know,
it went up and down and up, and it just came crashing down. So either we have to work to bring it back up, or it's gonna come crashing down again. Okay,
let's try to stay upbeat. So it's been a while, which means we've got some subscription boxes, a couple to go through. So sit tight real quick, and we're going to get that set up. So Brandon, a description, if you will.
So this box we have in particular is not just Star Wars, but Star Wars Rebels. And on the top, we have a Funko Pop image of Ezra Miller from...
No, Ezra Miller is
that's why... Sorry. You know what I'm talking about. Because that was what I was thinking about. Like, don't mess up. And then visually... His name is Ezra Bridger, okay? Don't freaking talk to me because I've seen the show, all right? Okay. Don't school me on this. But yeah, it is pretty funny that I messed that up. So on the top, we have a Funko Pop image of Ezra Bridger from the current show Star Wars Rebels, and just like all the other Star Wars boxes, this is a very simple decor: Star Wars Smuggler's Bounty around, and the little lights to indicate the internal hallways and corridors of starships. And let's get started.
Okay.
Now, before we start, you haven't seen any of the shows, have you?
That is correct, unfortunately. Okay. So I'm not really super excited for this box. I mean, I'm sure it'll be a fine box. I just don't have any attachment to these characters.
So I'll let you know about certain things that pop up.
Good, I'm glad I have an expert here with me.
That's what I do.
Okay, so our patch and pin here, we have for the pin, Sabine's helmet. Just regular Mandalorian armor, pretty rad. And then the patch is of Garrus.
Close. So his nickname is Zeb.
Oh,
but
is he from Massive? Is Garrus from Mass Effect? I think that's what it is.
Okay. But it's similar. His full name is I believe it's pronounced Garazeb Aurelius.
Oh, okay.
So you were close, actually.
Well, what do you know? So yeah, a little patch of him.
Fun fact about Zeb.
Yeah.
So this was actually an early draft or rendering of Chewbacca.
Okay.
Yeah, so then a lot of times what George Lucas likes to do, and everybody else on Star Wars, they'll take former sketches and former concept art, and then they'll make it into new characters.
Yes.
So I thought it was pretty cool.
It would be weird if he was Chewbacca.
Yeah, right?
Okay, so we've got the flyer for the next box, which we won't mess with. The t-shirt here is a black t-shirt with the crew of the Ghost.
Well, you're doing a great job so far.
Yeah, I mean, I follow them on Twitter, so I know enough to get by. I just haven't watched it yet. So yeah, anyway, it's fine. Like it looks like a lot of the Star Wars pop t-shirts we've gotten, like the Rogue One and Force Awakens boxes both had kind of similar designs, but yeah, it's cool. And then
did you just sniff it?
I did. It smelled kind of funky.
Like
we have
Funko Pop?
Yeah, sure. We have a gold glitter Hikari of the astromech droid that accompanies them, named Chopper. Now, this is the second Hikari that we've gotten in a subscription box. The first being, it was actually a mini Hikari of Darth Vader in the Death Star box, I think it was.
I want to say, yeah.
Either that one or Rogue One.
It might have been Rogue One.
I don't remember. Anyway, I don't collect Hikaris, so, it looks fine for what it is, but it's not something I'm super excited about.
But these, though.
Yeah, these are pretty cool.
These, oh my, you got the mother load on this.
So we've got two pops. The first one being of Captain Rex. Now, I don't know who he is. I haven't heard of him. So do you want to... He looks to be a stormtrooper.
So he's actually a clone trooper.
Okay.
So he's probably one of, if not the main clone trooper in Star Wars Clone Wars. And he was pretty much under the service of Anakin. So he was a captain in the 501st Legion.
Okay.
And so, like I said, he's probably the most prominent clone trooper.
Because he's in Attack of the Clones, right?
No, he isn't.
Oh, okay.
He was first introduced in Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Okay.
And it's kind of evolved into there. And so he's become a very, very big fan favorite. So they brought him back for Star Wars Rebels because they want to have a further connection with the Clone Wars. And they wanted to see, what would it be like to have former clone troopers into, like, the original trilogy's universe.
Right. So, remind me, the events of Rebels takes place before Rogue One and New Hope, right? Okay, so would he really be this old?
Kind of, because clones have accelerated growth.
Right, but process. I thought it stopped once they reached
it does, 20s. It does, but they'll still have at least a slight experience to it.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. Anyway, and then we have Darth Maul.
Yeah, now this one is pretty sweet.
Yeah, so I know that Darth Maul is in Rebels. This isn't like some big shocker or spoiler to me. I wish I didn't know because that would have been pretty rad to find that out, but it's fine. So he's shirtless, so you can see his skin markings and everything, and you can see his robo legs and his double-bladed lightsaber, which has some paint on it. I don't know. I can't tell if you can see that on the video. But, yeah, he looks pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Pretty scary.
It was a pretty nice box. I like it.
Yeah. Again, I would enjoy it a lot more if I was familiar with the show, but you know what they say. Alrighty, and then for our second box, we've got the Marvel Collector Corps Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 box. Now, before you give a description, we got a box of the original Guardians of the Galaxy. Well, let me back up. So, Guardians of the Galaxy came out in August of 2014?
Yeah, 2014. It was right after my first year of college.
That's right. We went to go see it together.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Such a fun day.
Yeah.
Everybody came on. We basically reserved the entire back row.
Yeah. It was fun.
Good day.
Anyway. So then Marvel Collector Corps launched in May or like April or May of 2015, I think it was. Something like it was like right when I was graduating, I think. And so then that December we got a box themed after the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and it was pretty wintry themed because it was December. Mm-hmm. So we got a mug of Star-Lord, a scarf that just said Guardians of the Galaxy.
I have that box.
Oh, you
actually.
do?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. And then on the other side, it's like a long version of Baby Groot. And then we got instead of pops, we got little bobblers, which were supposed to be used as Christmas ornaments, which I still haven't put on a Christmas tree yet, unfortunately.
It's all right.
But anyway.
When you get to New York, you'll finally be able to use them.
True. But yeah, so now we've got Volume 2. Obviously, this movie is coming out in May.
Yeah.
And
next week.
Yeah. And now the box has launched, so this more lined up with the release of the movie, so that's cool. It's a really big box. The first Guardians box was really big.
Yeah.
This is a really big box. I don't think it's the biggest box we've ever gotten, but it's definitely up there. But anyway, would you like to describe the box now?
I am Groot.
Perfect.
There's actually the only real thing I can say is that on the top of the box there's a real close-up image of Baby Groot's face.
Yeah, so. And then also
on the front side is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah, well, so normally they would have the theme of the box written in big black letters, but here they have Volume 2 stamped in red, so it just stands out.
Just like how they do in the film, right?
Yeah.
Baby Groot.
So much Groot. Oh, and the rest of the people.
Yeah, their faces are on little badges.
Yeah, but who really cares about them?
I do.
It was a joke. So our pin is Gamora. She's looking very fierce. And then our patch is Star-Lord with his mask on. So that's cool if you're into that. Then on the inside, we've got a flyer for the next box, of course. A pop variant cover of Secret Empire. Now, I haven't been following the Secret Empire storyline. I know a little bit of what happens, but I know it's a very dark tale.
Yeah.
So this cover doesn't really match up with it. But it is what it is. It's super cute. I really like this art style.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So then we have a t-shirt.
Man, just so much stuff today.
So another black t-shirt, and this is actually really reminiscent of the Rebels shirt.
Yeah.
It's just the Guardians of the Galaxy crew all in pop form, plastered all over the shirt. But yeah, it's
cool. I like it.
It is cool. I wish it wasn't black. That's my only complaint. Yeah. But I'll definitely be wearing this whenever I go to see it. Hopefully, I'm going on opening night, but I actually haven't bought tickets yet.
So. Oh yeah, I bought my tickets.
Oh yeah, you going with anybody?
Huh? I don't know. So we'll see.
Okay.
I always buy it just in case I ever want to sell it. I'm like, hey, you want this ticket? You gotta pay me.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do this.
It's RPX though, so I do have to put a little bit of my cash out there.
True. All right. So for the pop, we have Rocket, who's dual wielding pistols, different types of pistols. It looks like, at least from the side box art, and then he's got Baby Groot riding on top of his head. So that's cool. And then the reason the box is so big is we've got a Dorbs ride of Star-Lord with the Milano.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. So we got our first pop ride in the X-Men box where Wolverine was riding on his motorcycle. Dorbs are another line by Funko. They're smaller in size, and typically all of the figures have these little happy smiley faces on them. I don't collect Dorbs. The only Dorbs I have been from the subscription boxes. So this Dorbs ride is, it's cool. It's just not really my thing that I would collect. So,
oh, hey. No, actually, never mind. Forget about it.
Okay. So yeah, this is neat.
I like it.
Yeah. So overall thoughts on said boxes?
They were both really good. I liked them a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good amount of just stuff in it.
Yep. I don't know. They rarely disappoint me with these boxes. I would definitely say that. Well, That was fun.
Yep.
So let's move on.
Sorry, it's been a while. Had to do it.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, so that means it's time for our ABCs of Geekdom segment, and it's the letter N, and my turn to pick.
Yeah.
And I have decided that we are going to talk about the planet Naboo.
Okay.
The home planet of Queen Amidala and the Gungan people. So, we first get introduced to Naboo in the beginning of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. After Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon do their thing with the Trade Federation, they peace out and they go down on the planet.
After negotiations failed.
Yes. And what are your first impressions of Naboo?
Naboo?
Yeah.
It's really blue. It's super blue.
Yeah.
It's also a really nice planet.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd want to live there necessarily because it seems very swamp-like. Not like Dagobah swamp necessarily, but...
It's different.
Yeah, I want to say that I read somewhere like how much of the surface is covered in water, and it's like more than Earth. And Earth is like 70% water, so...
It's a little terrifying, especially remember when they're leaving from the Gungan capital to Theed, which is the capital where the Naboo people live. And then so they have to go through the water and the ocean to kind of get there because they can't go on land because of the Trade Federation. So they're going and you see all these sea monsters coming out at them. I'm like, oh my goodness. I already have like this small inherent fear of the deep ocean because like so much stuff lives there that you don't know about. So now all of this lives down there. That's twice the size, maybe 3 times the size of us. And just, oh my goodness.
But remember, there's always a bigger fish.
Oh, very nice.
So that's another weird thing about Naboo is that, like, you know, compared to Earth, you know, we have a molten core that like heats the planet and everything, but the core of Naboo is water. Like you can travel from one side to the other, like just going down instead of, you know, having to go around, which is cool, but also really weird. But anyway. So then we get to Theed, the capital, and it's very beautiful. Like it seems like a very nice climate. The palace is very ornate, or at least it is before, you know, the war starts. They have I guess this comes in the next movie, but they have kind of a strange hierarchy system because they have a queen. But then when Queen Amidala, she retires from being the queen, which means that it's not an inherited position. I don't know if it's voted on necessarily, but, you know, she steps down from being queen and they have a new queen. So somehow they chose, you know, someone to replace her. And then she becomes a senator, which means that they also have a legislature.
Democracy, a legislative branch.
Yeah. Well, but because that's part of the Galactic Federation, not like Naboo's, like a legislature on Naboo. Yeah. So...
But they also had like other ministers as well.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. So I don't know. Like it's, you know, people give
maybe it's a lot like, you know, Great Britain.
Yeah, I guess I don't know enough about Britain's politics to really say, but there's similarities.
Yeah.
I mean, people give the prequels crap about like there's too much politics and like there's like the main conflict in the first movie is this whole trade negotiation. Which we find out is like a bigger plot that Palpatine is controlling
to become the Senate.
Exactly. But I don't know. It never really bothered me. Yeah. I mean, partially because, you know, when the movies came out, I was a kid, so I wasn't really focusing on that. I was just kind of waiting for the next lightsaber battle. So it didn't really bother me. And now it's like, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but, you know, in terms of Star Wars, but if you remove the Star Wars aspects, like politics can be interesting. Like, you know, you wouldn't go and see, I can't think of a political movie, All the King's Men. Like you wouldn't go and see that movie and say, oh, there's too much politics in that movie. Like that's the whole point. And yes, that's not the point of Star Wars, but it can be a facet of the movies, of the universe, and still be interesting.
And actually, you know, like you said, a lot of people give crap for that, but I think it was a pretty good choice for George Lucas to do, especially because with war comes politics. Right. That's inevitable. And I remember I say this all the time that Star Wars always helped me like kind of learn more about government policy and politics, and it really did. So I honestly, like whenever I watch it, I don't get that bored of it because it's something that at least they took the risk of doing, and it's still like somewhat interesting, especially considering like the whole galaxy has this humongous Senate that everybody goes to, and you also kind of see like he kind of does capture a pretty good part of it, that politics is like kind of boring, it's kind of endless, and it's not until something bad happens that politics kind of finally takes a turn for better or worse.
Yeah, but anyway, back to Naboo. Yeah. So the Gungans, we talked about Jar Jar on an episode that Brandon wasn't on for the first cycle of our ABCs of Geekdom segment. I chose Jar Jar for the letter J. But we can do a little recap of the Gungans. The Gungans are another interesting race, and I like it that they co-inhabit the planet with the humans of Naboo. They don't get along, but by the end they're like super buddy, which is nice. Like out of war comes this bond between these inhabitants of this planet who had previously not gotten along, and so something good came out of it. Even though, Jar Jar was the one who eventually led to the decline of the Republic, but we don't need to focus on that. But yeah, Jar Jar, again, people have given a lot of crap for Jar Jar. I've never minded it too much. Like I see where they're coming from. Again, I watched it when I was a kid. I thought it was funny. Yeah. It doesn't bother me now. Like maybe it does a little bit. Like again, I understand what they're saying, but it's just I just roll with it.
Yeah. It's something with me too. And it was funny that when I was first watching the Clone Wars, the creator and the director, he's like, yeah, we know people really hate Jar Jar, but he also said he said two things. We can't really avoid that because he is a part of the prequels, and second, kids do watch this show, so we do have to at least cater somewhat to the kids sometimes. But honestly, some of the episodes where Jar Jar is in is some of my favorite because I remember in one episode, the story arc for a couple of episodes, he's teamed up with Mace Windu, and you can tell Mace Windu just is not having it. Like he's completely just annoyed by Jar Jar. But the planet that they go on, the Jedi, the planet they go to, the Jedi aren't very much appreciated on there, but Jar Jar is, because he's an old flame of the queen of that planet. Gosh. So everybody on that planet loves Jar Jar, and they kind of despise Mace Windu. So whenever Mace Windu tries to do something, they're like, nope, can't do that. But when Jar Jar comes on, it's like, oh, he's up with me. Like, oh yes, Mr. Jar Jar, please come this way. But yeah, and I know what you mean, but yeah, for me, Jar Jar is always he's always had a special place in my heart, which is kind of sad because in a recent novelization, they kind of tell you what happened to Jar Jar after the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire. And he's been considered a public outcast because they knew what he did. So everybody pretty much hates him, but he spends his days as pretty much a street clown, just so he can get money and get food.
Wow, that's dark.
Yeah. They never say what happens to him in the end, but that's just that's what we know what happens to him after the fall of the Republic.
So I know this isn't canon anymore, but in The Force Unleashed, you go to Kashyyyk, and you go into the whatever the Imperial officer who's controlling the planet. You go into his office, and frozen in carbonite, there's a Gungan who looks a lot like Jar Jar.
Oh gosh, really? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Again, they never. It's just an Easter egg. There's no cutscene of hey, look at this Gungan I have over here. So you just look at it. So there's no confirmation that it's definitely Jar Jar. But I mean, most of the Gungans look pretty visually distinct, and it looks a lot like Jar Jar. So,
jeez,
yeah. So I don't know which of those fates is worse.
Poor Jar Jar. But the Gungans have always been kind of cool because they're not primitive, but they're not 100% advanced.
Right.
But their technology is pretty cool because a lot of it's centered around energy shields and aquatic lifestyle. So much of what the Gungans kind of have is based on energy.
Yeah.
And I don't know, whenever they fought the droids, they knew they were going to be on a losing side, but they were still fighting. And I'm like, you know what? That's cool for you guys.
Yeah.
You guys are still tough as nails.
Yeah, because I mean, the city or civilization they have under the water, whatever it's called. We don't get to spend a lot of time there, but when they're swimming down, like, you get a pretty good shot of it. It looks really big. It looks really nice. Like, I mean, it's probably would rival the size of the palace that Queen Amidala lives in. So yeah, like you said, like, they seem kind of like, backwater, for lack of a better word, just kind of in terms of the way they speak. And their technology isn't quite as good as, everybody else has.
They don't use blasters and they don't use ships.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they've got it pretty good.
Yeah, especially, like, they were able to, like, at least master the droids for a little bit. They had, like, these energy catapults and everything. Not to mention the fact that Jar Jar was able to take out a bunch of them too. He took out a tank.
It's because he's a Sith Lord.
Oh yeah, he took out a droideka. Yeah. Granted, the droideka didn't have its shields on, but he still took it out. I remember when I was little, my mom would take me to the public library, and there's this one book, because that's when the Star Wars movies, the prequels, was coming out, and then there's this one book on Jar Jar, and, like, she knew I loved Star Wars, so I think this is what kind of cemented my little affection for Jar Jar, because she would just, like, always read me this book, and I'm like, oh, this is Jar Jar, yay! But yeah, Gungans. They actually come back in the Clone Wars too, because again, I won't spoil it for you, but you know the Mon Calamari, right? That's the species that Admiral Akbar is. So, do you know what a Quarren is?
I've definitely heard it before.
You've seen them in Star Wars, probably. They have the squid heads, kind of.
I don't remember.
Well, both of them inhabit the planet Mon Calamar.
Okay.
And that's where Mon Cala, I should say. Mon Calamari are the other ones. Mon Cala. So it's basically this world that's completely covered in water.
Okay.
And during the time of the Clone Wars, the two of them were fighting each other because the Quarren didn't feel like they were properly represented on the planet. The Mon Calamari were arguing against that. So a big fight happens, blah blah blah. And I'll just tell you now, the Gungans make an appearance.
Of course they do.
Yeah, so they bring in the Gungans to help out, and it's pretty cool what happens.
That's weird because, like, Admiral Akbar looks, like aquatic or kind of like he has just some of those features, but I never would have thought of, like, his people living on a water-based planet. Yeah, because you never see him in water. That's weird. I never thought about it.
That's probably one of my favorite story arcs. So when you eventually get the time to watch the Clone Wars, I highly recommend that one.
Okay, I'll get there soon.
Anything else about Naboo you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I mean, there's the parade at the end.
Oh yeah,
it's nice.
Yeah.
With their, like, ceremonial orb thing.
Oh yeah, I remember that with Boss Nass.
Yeah. That's all I got. I don't know.
When we were talking about planets, I thought two things. You're either kind of talk about Naboo or you're gonna talk about Namek.
Oh.
But I feel like we talk about Namek on this podcast a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe not centrally on Namek, but Namek has come up a lot of times on this podcast.
Probably because we talk about Little Green.
Oh yeah, Dende. My name is Dende.
Okay. So yeah, that's the planet Naboo. So let us move on to our next segment, which is, of course, the fan favorite corrections. So first thing to talk about is on our last show many weeks ago, I was talking about the Zelda escape room that I did with Vincent and Armando. So the official name of said escape game is The Scrap, which is the name of the company, Real Escape Game, Defenders of the Triforce.
Cool.
Yes. Then Brandon's pick for the ABC of Geekdom was Mycroft Holmes. So we had a nice long chat about him. And we talked about Sherlock Holmes in the 22nd century. And we didn't know if he was in it. As far as I can tell, he's not.
Okay.
So that's not too surprising. But I don't know. They had a robot Holmes, so it wouldn't have been
Robot Watson.
That's what I meant. Yeah. So it wouldn't have been too much of a stretch to have a robot Mycroft, but whatever.
They could have done like a Futurama where it's just Mycroft's head.
Then we talked about Adventure Time because the previous show I did Lemon Grab for ABCs, and I was talking about Finn and his last name. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
It's Mertens.
Is it really?
Yes.
I actually didn't know he had a last name. So this is spoilers.
Sorry. Okay, then this is actually a correction of a correction. So we were talking about the release dates of Harry Potter, the last 2 Harry Potter movies, and the last 2 Twilight movies, and I think I forget exactly what happened now, but I think I flipped around the release dates for the 2 movies. So what I should have said was that Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 1 was released on November 19th, 2010, and Part 2 was released on July 11th, 2011. So, sorry about that. Then another correction we were talking about was we were talking about Cheetah's super move in Injustice 2, and I was talking about how it reminded me of an X-ray move from one of the Mortal Kombat games. So I went back, looked it up, found a few that were similar. One of them was the character Ermac, and I was saying that, I couldn't remember his origin story. So I did a little bit of looking into it, and what I said was accurate, how it's like an amalgamation of souls put together. However, the only thing that I needed to correct was I said that it was Shao Kahn, the sorcerer, who works for the big bad guy of the Mortal Kombat series. Well, one of the big bad guys of the Mortal Kombat series, Shao Kahn. I said that Quan Chi was the one who did his magic to fuse the souls together. But as far as I can tell, in the quote official Mortal Kombat lore, Ermac is stated to be a creation of Shao Kahn. So I don't know if that means that Shao Kahn has his own like kind of shadow magic that put it together, or if that means that he ordered Quan Chi to do it, but it's still considered a creation of Shao Kahn. It's up to interpretation, I guess. What?
Huh? No, I'm just like everybody created something, or you don't know who works for who.
Yeah. So anyway, I could have gone back and watched the story mode from the Mortal Kombat 2011 game, but I didn't. Yeah. So we'll just leave it at that. It's a creation of Shao Kahn. Okay, and then we were talking about Land Before Time movies, because that was one of Brandon's top 5 favorite non-Disney animated movies.
Wow, we're still back on this.
Yes. And so the title of the 14th movie in the Land Before Time series is Land Before Time, Journey of the Brave.
Okay. A little bit generic, but okay.
Yeah. I would like to see a crossover of Land Before Time and The Brave Little Toaster. So, Journey of the Brave Little Toaster, where he either he goes back in time to meet the Land Before Time crew, or they get frozen in ice and then get melted in the future, and they meet the Brave Little Toaster. Okay. Have you seen the Brave Little Toaster? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it.
I definitely seen it. I remember when I was little, watching and loving that movie, but I haven't seen it enough since then to call it one of my favorites. All right, moving on. We talked about a forthcoming proposed Call of Duty cinematic universe, which still sounds like a terrible idea to me.
Yeah.
But we were talking about the first Call of Duty game and the timeline setting of said game. We weren't sure. We thought it was World War II, but we weren't positive. Turns out it is. Yeah. So there you go.
What if they put Captain America as a secret character?
That would be awesome.
It's in the middle of the fight, you're just cornered, and then boom.
So I didn't include this in the news section because I didn't really want to talk about it, but they just recently announced the game for the next Call of Duty game, and it's actually going to be based on World War II again. So they're resetting the cycle.
Good for them, I guess.
Yeah, I know. Right?
I really don't know what to say.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, so last week we were talking about, or not last week, our last show, we were talking about movies that were then turned into TV shows. And so I was thinking of, I named a couple, but I knew there was at least one more that I couldn't think of. So I looked it up, and there are actually quite a few. So these are just ones that are still on the air with one exception. So there's Ash vs. Evil Dead, which, spoiler alert, is one of my hot takes for later in the show. Nice. So get more thoughts on that. Bates Motel.
That's right.
Which is okay.
You've seen it?
I have, yeah. Okay. I've watched up to season 4, which is on Netflix right now.
I still have to see it.
it's not terrible, but don't go out of your way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's been a while since I've touched Netflix, so...
Oh, good for you.
This summer, man, it's going to be a reckoning. I'm telling you right now.
And then we have Fargo.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I haven't seen the movie or the TV show, unfortunately, but I've heard really good things about both. Then we have Lethal Weapon, which I believe I mentioned on the last show. Limitless, which I still can't believe they made it into a TV show. Like, I mean, it makes sense. Like, there's a lot there for them to, steal from, but it's dumb. But anyway, Rush Hour, which I totally forgot about.
Yeah, which it didn't last too long.
Oh, it's over already?
Yeah.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. School of Rock.
Really?
Yes. It's a Nickelodeon show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Or Teen Nick or whatever, I don't know. Taken, which I forgot was a thing, yeah. Training Day, which again, haven't seen the movie or the TV show. Transport the series, which is the one that is not on the air anymore. Well, also Rush Hour isn't either, apparently. But yeah, have you seen the Transporter movies?
I have not.
Okay,
I have to.
Yeah. I really like those movies. They're dumb, but I don't know. They're like a little bit above like a Fast and the Furious movie, just because Jason Statham is so British and like
he's so suave and cool.
Yeah. And then the last one, which actually really surprised me, I didn't know this before I looked it up. Westworld, which is
really
okay. So Westworld is HBO's like new hit show. It's very reminiscent of Firefly. It's set in the future in outer space, but it has an Old West kind of feel. And it's based off of an old movie. It was like in the 50s, I think, 50s or 60s, something like that. So I thought that was interesting. Alrighty, next thing is we're talking about Russell Crowe possibly playing Cable in the upcoming Deadpool 2 movie.
Which is kind of null and void at this point.
Yeah, I know, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, so we're talking about how old Russell Crowe is. He's only 53.
Really?
Yeah, he's younger than my dad, now that I think about it.
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh.
So I actually pegged him to be not like a lot older than that, but a few years ago. Yeah. So anyway, that was interesting. Probably still a little bit too old to play Cable, in my opinion.
But do you remember him though from Man of Steel when he punched the crap out of Zod?
Yes.
He did like literally like a double punch on Zod. I'm like, how was the scientist able to do this?
Well, he's Russell Crowe. I mean, what can you say?
That is true.
Okay, then we were talking about the Valerian trailer, and we were talking about his partner in the movie, and she has played, the actress's name is Cara Delevigne.
See, last time we had the problem on the last name.
Yeah, I know. That's close enough. Moving on. So, we talked about Injustice last week, or Injustice 2, I should say, and spoilers, we're going to talk about it more in the trailer section, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, one thing I forgot to mention that I was totally going to is that on April 1st, which in the United States is known as April Fool's Day, which is when everyone tries to pull a prank on other people. And in the last few years, like the internet and like big companies have gotten really into doing April Fool's Day stuff. Yeah. So anyway, Ed Boon, who is the creative director of NetherRealm Studios, which is the studio who makes the Mortal Kombat and Injustice series, on April 1st, he put out a teaser image of, basically it was the Injustice logo, and then underneath it was two people doing a fist bump with like purple like sleeves or whatever, and the caption, I forget what it said, but it was like Wonder Twin powers activate, so something along those lines. So basically he was trying to tease that the Wonder Twins were going to be in Injustice 2, which of course was a prank. Everybody figured it out. But when I saw that, before I found out that it wasn't real, I got super excited because I actually think that would be I feel like they could do some cool and unique things with that. So Do you know about the Wonder Twins at all?
Kind of.
Okay, so quick backstory on the Wonder Twins. They're twins, boy and a girl. I forget what their names are, but they both start with Z. They're aliens, and basically whenever they do a fist bump, she has the power to turn into any animal, and he has the power to turn into a form of water. Now, I know what you're thinking, like, oh, a form of water is so lame, and yes, that has been parodied and made fun of a lot over the years. They're like actually really old school heroes. Like they were around in the... Well, I know them from the show Super Friends, which was on in like the mid 60s, I think. So they were around for at least that long. And even then, like they didn't really come up with very creative uses for his power. Like her power was used a lot. His power, came in handy when it needed to, but oftentimes it wasn't super useful.
Sorry.
Because anytime they do the thing, like if she needs to transform into something that can fly to get them out of a situation, he has to transform. It's not like he can stay in his...
Yeah, because it's like a mandatory thing that you gotta do, yeah.
So...
That kind of sucks.
Yeah, so usually what would happen is...
Can you imagine doing it by accident? Like, good job, guys!
So usually what would happen is if they needed to get away, she would turn into like an eagle or something, and he would turn into like a puddle. And they had this little a little monkey friend who would carry around a bucket with him. So then the boy twin would get in the bucket, and then she would carry the monkey, and the monkey would carry the bucket. Or maybe she would carry the bucket, and the monkey would fly on her back. Yes, I know it's really ridiculous, but in a more recent adaptation, and I'm totally blanking on it, and I want to say it was Young Justice, but I'm not sure. But in a more like quote like gritty adaptation of the DC universe,
I remember this now. Sorry, I'm looking up on Google right now, and I do remember this.
Yeah, they reintroduced the Wonder Twins, and they kind of tweaked his powers a little bit, and he turned into something like really cool and awesome instead of a lame puddle of water.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so when they announced that, I was thinking that it would be like some kind of like tag team fighter where they would like swap out, and then whenever you swapped out, you could transform into something new or something like I feel like they could do some cool, interesting mechanics with that, but it's not real. So, Alrighty, next correction here is I talked about Iron Fist. Gave my thoughts on that hot take. So I don't really have anything to add. It's my thoughts on it are still the same. I just wanted to add a couple more things. First. So this is going to be a quick John Wick spoiler. So for those of you who didn't watch it along with us when we talked about it, shame on you. But just skip ahead like 15 seconds. I'll make it really quickly. Do you remember the lady assassin who tries to kill John?
We're talking about the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
You remember when she gets killed by Ian McShane and how they like all shoot her? The place where that happens, one of the fight scenes in the second to last episode of Iron Fist takes place there.
Nice. Yeah. Very nice.
I feel like that's more than 15 seconds, but...
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Yeah. Second thing is that the family who takes over the company, the Rand Corporation... So, backstory. So, Danny Rand is Iron Fist. His father was the owner of the Rand Corporation, so he's like a billionaire or whatever. And his partner, his name was Meacham. I forget his first name. Anyway, so the Meacham family, they play a big role in the show, and so obviously that's ties back from the comic books. They couldn't really change that name. I just thought it was funny because in House of Cards, one of Frank Underwood's bodyguards is named Edward Meacham.
That's right.
So it's just two Netflix series with prominent Meachams.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back into House of Cards this summer.
You shouldn't wait that long.
So excited. I have a lot of things to come.
Boo-hoo.
I had a paper that was due 2 weeks ago.
You haven't finished it?
No.
Okay. So I talked about Perfect Blue last time. That was another one of my hot takes. Again, still a super weird movie, but I also kind of recommend it. Anyway, the main character in that movie, her name was Mina Kirigoe.
Okay.
Probably butchering that pronunciation, but close enough. Okay, final correction for this week is we were talking about Johnny Cage because he was one of our combatants in Fanfic Fights. So his origin story, well, no, not his origin story. In Mortal Kombat X, we find out that he is, quote, descended from some Mediterranean war cult, bred as warriors for the gods. And this is where he derives his power to enhance his punches with this green glowing fist, throw the green fireballs, and as we see in the beginning of Mortal Kombat X, he actually has the power to encase his whole body in this green protective armor to shield from super powerful hits. Now, this never factors into gameplay, unfortunately for him and people who main Johnny Cage, but it's canon, so yeah. Also, I did a lot of looking into this, but we were talking about how his signature move is called the Nut Punch, which is where he does the splits and does an uppercut into the groin region of his opponent. And I was talking about how I didn't think that he ever combined his green fist punch with the Nut Punch, but at least in the game Mortal Kombat, which was the one that came out in 2011, he does in fact do that. Now, I believe that he does that somewhere in Mortal Kombat X, but I couldn't find a video proving that, but he definitely does in Mortal Kombat 9, so that's good enough for me. So he could hit Luke Cage pretty hard where it hurts.
Sorry, it's not that I don't want to talk. I'm just kind of visualizing it, and it's nasty. It's just too much like of that region. Just thinking about it, so I want to kind of move on.
Yeah,
I'm done thinking about Balls of Steel.
Good idea. All right. Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and talk about some news first because we've got a pretty decent amount of trailers to go, and this hasn't been going for too long. So, first news item we have here is that the release dates for the next 4 Avatar sequels, again, this is Avatar the Blue People, not Avatar the Last Airbender, but those release dates have been announced. So we will be getting one in December of 2020, one in 2021, one in 2024, and one in 2025.
Are you excited for this?
No, not at all.
You saw the last one, right?
Yeah. I saw it once. I didn't see it in theaters. You know, people were saying like, "Oh, Avatar, you have to see it on the big screen, 3D." I never got to. I'm still not sold on 3D, but I guess if there was one movie that I was ever going to see in 3D, it probably would have been Avatar. Anyway,
I liked it when it came out.
I mean, I saw it. It was fine, but it wasn't like
I wasn't blown away by it because I saw it in theaters, not 3D, but I still saw it in theaters, and visually it's amazing. But then this is gonna be kind of controversial for me to say, but honestly, I felt like I was already introduced to that type of technology and visuals by Star Wars. So seeing it like it didn't really do too much for me because I felt like I already had gotten that from Star Wars. Now, don't get me wrong, the technology and like techniques it's different from Star Wars.
Are you talking about like the filmmaking techniques or like the technology in the movie of like the Avatar thing?
No, I mean like to create the world because it's essentially all CGI.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, I'm talking about the CGI, like how it visually looks, and it's totally different. I will have to say that, and it's beautiful. But at the same time, I feel like I was already introduced to that with Star Wars. So seeing like that just blew me. So when people were talking about the CGI is incredible, I'm like, yeah, it is. But I was one of the few people who was okay with the CGI in Star Wars. So that wasn't one of the big primary factors for me. I just thought like it was a really good storytelling movie. It had its moments. You can enjoy it for what it is, or you can go deeper with what it is. There's a lot of great genuine acting, but nothing for me made it stand out for the need for another sequel.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not really opposed to an Avatar sequel per se. Like I feel like there's more of that world that you can explore and, you know, do more things with the Avatar, whatever, like fine. My problem, and we've been talking about this problem more and more, is that they're like, okay, we've got 4 movies ready to go. We're putting out release dates, even though we haven't even started. I mean, maybe they started filming this first one, the next sequel, but like the 4th movie, like we don't need to know when it's going to come out. Just let it come out whenever it's going to come out. Like I don't know why they're putting it out. What, like 7 years in advance? That's also absurd.
That's also what I noticed. Like, it's a really long time before the sequel comes out. Even still,
like even the second one is not for another 3 years. We've given our thoughts on this trend, and as much as I hate it, like it's not going away. So there's just no point in me getting all worked up about it, you know. Okay, so next news item here is we got the announcement of the characters who are going to be in the upcoming freeform TV series, The New Warriors, which we talked about on our previous episode, I believe. So we already knew Squirrel Girl was going to be in it. That's, you know, all fine and dandy. So then we got Mr. Immortal, and his superpower is that he cannot die. So he says, which is... okay, that I don't really know how that would help you in combat necessarily. I mean, like, you could say the same thing about Vandal Savage from the DC universe, and like he's a pretty formidable opponent, so you know that's fine. But I don't know. Anyway, and then we got Night Thrasher, who doesn't have superpower. Speedball, who can launch kinetic balls of energy. That sounds pretty neat.
Oh right, sorry. I was like, is he the same guy I remember from reading from a comic? He might be. I don't remember.
Oh,
please continue.
Okay. Microbe, whose superpower is that he can talk to germs.
Oh God. And
finally, Debris. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's Debrii, and she's a low-level telekinetic. Yeah, so that's all dudes except for Squirrel Girl and Debris, which is fine. I don't really have anything to say about that. No casting announcements yet, which, you know, whatever. So this is happening. I don't know. I'll check it out. I'm more interested in this than like Cloak and Dagger, which I feel is going to be a lot more by the numbers. Just because of the tone of the show, whereas with this New Warrior show, they're going a lot more lighthearted. I think that'll be a refreshing take, but I'm not super jazzed for it, but, you know, I'll check it out and maybe I'll be surprised.
Do you like jazz?
Yes. Okay, next. It was reported that a new show called King Kong Skull Island, which has nothing to do with the recently released movie Kong Skull Island, is going to be coming out. This is kind of weird.
Yeah,
like
this is really weird.
I mean, King Kong's cool, but is he that cool that he needs
his own show?
Yeah,
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about this. They didn't announce a channel or anything, or even like a production timeline or anything. So I don't know. It's fine. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Next news item. James Gunn is going to write and direct Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and in other news, water is wet.
I mean, they didn't have the same director for the 3rd time for Iron Man, so
right.
I mean, it's a little bit of news.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I feel like at this point, Guardians is almost like their biggest franchise. Like, because obviously there's the Avengers, but those are like composed of different franchises put together. Like, single franchise that has like the most hype and support from the fans, I feel like at this point is probably Guardians. Yeah. Because Cap, we're probably not getting another solo Cap movie, at least not anytime soon. Not getting another Iron Man anytime soon. Not getting another Hulk. Thor is coming out, but again, that's going to be his last one probably. And they lost a lot of goodwill with the Thor brand from the second movie, in my opinion, at least. And then what else? Like Doctor Strange, like we don't know about any sequel. Ant-Man, I guess, like but there's not as much hype for Ant-Man as there has been for Guardians. I don't feel like either before or at least after the movies came out, because I feel like they were both very in similar situations where they were very underknown properties. They came out, they were pretty successful, like a lot of people liked them, but Guardians just kept getting bigger and bigger, whereas Ant-Man, like, it's kind of stayed around the same level of excitement. So I don't think they would want to put that in the hands of another director or writer.
And that makes sense.
Yeah. We talked about that for way longer than I was expecting. I'm not complaining, I'm just saying. Okay, next news item here, and I know we keep going back and forth on this, but it was announced by Lucas
Arts.
Isn't that the video game?
Oh, maybe Films.
Yeah, Lucasfilm. By the Star Wars people, that Carrie Fisher is not going to be in Episode 9. Her likeness, obviously. Now, again, like, we've talked about this quite a bit. I don't think we really need to go over it too much more, but I think this is probably the right move at this time, and any time after. Well, I don't know. I could see, like, 40 years down the road, they could do the same thing they did for Tarkin with Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
We'll see. That's a lot of Star Wars a long time from now. But, yeah. Anyway, now it's official. We've put that to bed. Now we just have to wait for The Last Jedi. Yeah. Well, and Episode 9. Okay. Next news item, and one that we alluded to earlier, is that we got a casting announcement for Cable. It was not Brad Pitt. It was not Russell Crowe. They've gone with, of all people, Josh Brolin. Now, I like Josh Brolin. Mm-hmm. He's pretty cool. He was in the movie Hail Caesar.
Yeah.
I thought he did a good job there. He was in No Country for Old Men. It's a fantastic movie. Did a good job there. He was in The Goonies. Yeah, it's okay. But he did a fine job in that movie. He was in the movie Jonah Hex, which nobody ever talks about. Have you seen it?
I haven't. I know about it, but I haven't seen it.
I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Yeah. It's not fantastic. It's better than Batman vs. Superman, so there's that. But anyway, he played Jonah Hex. He's also in the Avengers movies, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as Thanos. So, I mean, hats off to him for, locking down, like, all three comic book cinematic universe. Well, right. I guess the DC, that's not in the DC Cinematic Universe, but
he's still in a DC movie.
Yeah, so that's cool. Why they cast him, I'm not exactly sure. Like, I get it. Like, his persona in movies is very gruff, serious, which is what Cable is. He doesn't have the white hair, but obviously that's what a wig is for. But why him?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But surprisingly, when I heard it, I'm like, okay, this is fine. I'm okay with
this. The only thing I can think of, and honestly I just thought about this right now, is that Ryan Reynolds pushed to get him so that they could make a joke about him being Thanos in Deadpool.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. I'm totally okay with that.
They better do it.
I still don't really know how I feel about him as Thanos. Like, I know we talked about this before. Yeah. Not because I don't think he's done a good job. I want to see where he goes with it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got to do it himself.
Next thing here is a couple weeks ago, Charlie Murphy passed away at the age of 57. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if too many people didn't know this, but Charlie Murphy is the older brother of Eddie Murphy, who pretty much everyone in the world knows. He played Donkey, or he voiced Donkey in the Shrek movies.
Mushu.
He was in the movie Trading Places.
Coming to America.
Yeah, Coming to America. Everybody knows Eddie Murphy. But he had an older brother who he was in the entertainment business. I'm not exactly sure what he did. I knew him best from the Chappelle Show. There's this one.
You know the Chappelle Show?
I haven't watched a ton of it, but I've watched enough of it. So there's this one skit, and it's actually one of my favorite Chappelle skits, where Charlie Murphy's in a club and he meets Prince.
Yeah.
And then Prince invites him to go over to his house. And then they play Prince and his crew and Charlie Murphy and his crew. They play a game of basketball in which Prince wipes the floor with them. That's hilarious. And now they're both dead. So that's kind of sad.
It is.
Yeah. And at least Dave Chappelle isn't dead. I laughed because Brandon crossed his fingers. Okay, let's move on to some happier news here. It was announced that Jude Law is going to be playing young Albus Dumbledore.
That's right.
In the sequel to Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, whatever it is they end up calling that. Now that I think about it, I have no predictions for what they might call that movie. Yeah, no,
right. Like, I'm totally fine with them making it. I have no idea what they're going to call it.
I mean, like, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them 2 would be fine. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them was already a little lengthy. So I think like Fantastic Beasts : Newt's Journey or something kind of vague like that would be fine. But anyway, that's not the point. So yeah, young Dumbledore. That's cool. I guess.
I'm actually pretty good with this casting decision.
Yeah, I mean, I like Jude Law. I kind of have a hard time picturing him as Dumbledore because Dumbledore is such a wholesome, caring, nurturing, obviously a very powerful wizard, but we see a lot more of him just being very brilliant and very caring to Harry. Whereas Jude Law, I feel like a lot of the roles that he plays are very much more bad boy, at least in the movies that I think of him playing.
Right. But I do see that side whenever he plays Watson in the Sherlock Holmes movie.
Yeah, I guess.
And but also,
I don't know, but he gets so irritated with Sherlock all the time too.
To be fair though, wouldn't you?
Definitely, but Dumbledore never gets irritated.
Well, I mean, he did yell at Harry for putting his name in the Goblet of Fire.
Don't talk to me about that movie.
But I would actually make the same. Not the same. I would actually make. I guess what is it? What's the word I'm trying to make? Another point with Charles Xavier when they had Sir Patrick Stewart as Xavier originally, and then after that they got
James McAvoy.
Yeah, I almost said Patrick again. James McAvoy as younger Xavier.
Okay, counterpoint.
Okay.
James McAvoy's version of Xavier is younger and more hot-headed. Like right. We don't see him become the, more mature, very regal almost version of Xavier in the X-Men, in the new X-Men trilogy. We see flashes of it, but a lot more we see him being very, very impetuous, very hot-tempered, that kind of thing. Patrick Stewart, yes, I kind of agree with you, although I'm more familiar with him as Xavier than any other role.
Okay. So
I see what you're saying, but, personally, I don't feel that way. But I don't know.
But then again, this is back in Dumbledore's younger years.
Right.
So this is also when he still has to face Grindelwald, too.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is probably before he gets the Elder Wand, because Grindelwald didn't have
Spoilers.
I know, right?
Anyway. So yeah, that's cool.
I don't know, it was so cool. We had a pretty cool
back and forth.
Yeah. It was pretty cool, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So anyway, back to Jude Law. He's a fantastic actor. Don't get me wrong. I'm not 100% sold on this casting choice, but I think I can be sold on it because, we haven't seen any footage of him playing this role. As far as Dumbledore's role in the story, a lot of the podcasts, well, there's only one podcast I listen to that really talks about Harry Potter. They have brought up, and I kind of agree that while it's not surprising that Dumbledore would be part of this story, it's kind of surprising that he would be in the story so early because they already have a 5-movie story arc planned. And I feel like leaning on Dumbledore so soon kind of takes away from the identity that they set up for themselves in this first movie. Kind of, cementing that it's still part of the Harry Potter wizarding world, but setting itself aside as well at the same time.
That is true.
So introducing Dumbledore into the story, a character that we're very familiar with, I feel like might kind of hurt them. But
I also think it depends on how long he's going to be.
That's true.
Movie.
That's true. Because, I don't know if this is a spoiler anymore since the movie's been out for a while.
You'd be surprised.
Johnny Depp is playing Grindelwald.
Yeah.
And he's only in it for like a minute, like tops. So we could get the same. So Johnny Depp, big name actor, he's obviously going to play a bigger part in the future movies, but he was very minor. He had a very minor role in the first movie. So we could see the same thing with Jude Law in this second movie, but who knows? Okay, moving on. We got a release date for a He-Man movie. It's going to be coming out in December 18th, 2019.
Sweet.
Yeah, so I don't think we've ever talked about the He-Man movie. Like, I feel like I heard like rumors, like some rumblings about this possibly happening. I don't think I'd ever seen anything concrete, but now this is definitely happening. I'm a little bit wary because the He-Man franchise, we've talked about it a lot, like more than you would expect. It has a bit of a troubled past. It's a little bit all over the place. There has been a previous live action He-Man movie that nobody remembers because it wasn't very good. But I have confidence in this movie. Things have changed a lot since the 80s when that first movie came out. We have a proof of concept that He-Man can be super duper amazingly, unbelievably awesome in the form of the He-Man and the Masters of the Universe reboot from Cartoon Network. So if they can capture some of that magic and put it on the big screen, if they get the right actors to play the role, that's going to be a huge part of it. But I hope that it can happen because I really love He-Man, or at least the 2003 version of He-Man. 70s He-Man is fine, but I like the reboot. I feel like I've hammered that point home a lot. All right, so we got the announcement that Jeff Goldblum is going to be reprising his role as Dr. Ian Malcolm from Jurassic Park and The Lost World Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park: The Lost World in the upcoming film Jurassic World 2.
This is a little bit iffy because he did the same thing in Independence Day.
Yes.
And look how that turned out.
Yeah.
Which sucked because the premise of Independence Day 2 was at least somewhat a little bit entertaining and interesting.
Yeah.
And I heard the execution was just not good.
Yes. Very true. I'm not sure if I agree with the point about the premise being that good. Like, kind of a little bit, yes, but also just if you were to summarize it into one sentence, that the aliens have returned to destroy the Earth because they got pissed that we beat them the first time.
Yeah.
Just that in itself makes a sequel sound very unnecessary. It just sounds.
Oh, I meant the fact that they used the technology to kind of upgrade themselves to because they use, the technology that was left over from the aliens to advance their civilization. Right. And then after that, it just shows it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
That part I was fine with.
Okay.
But yeah, like when you say it like that, I was like, yeah. It's kind of like a shallow sequel.
Yeah. But anyway, Jeff Goldblum. I like Jeff Goldblum. I think he's pretty funny.
He's a really quirky guy.
Yes.
He's a really quirky guy.
Yeah. But I don't know. I like this character in Jurassic Park.
Yeah. He talked a lot.
Yeah.
But it was funny.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it was really necessary for him to come back because. So I guess this is going to be Jurassic Park spoilers, but it's like 20 plus years old, so whatever. So in the first Jurassic Park, he's all on board with the idea of the park, and then obviously things go badly.
Actually, he was against it. For almost like the beginning, he was against it.
He was for it, and then the other guy, Alan, whatever his name was, he was against it. Like he was always
most of them are almost like 100% against it, except for the lawyer. Almost all of them were against it. Like he was totally fine with looking around, but when we talked about it when they had that lunch, he's like, "You're not supposed to do that."
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then anyway, that's when what was his name? the guy who made the park.
Right. I don't remember.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, though.
Yeah.
He said, like, he was actually really frustrated because, like, I don't believe this. All you say no, I'm the only one who agrees with me is the blood-sucking lawyer.
Yeah, that's right. But he was at least entertained by the idea.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, obviously, things go badly, and he's, super against the idea. And then, very begrudgingly, he goes to Isla Nublar, I think is what it's called, in the second movie. So the idea that he would go to another park, which has already experienced the catastrophic meltdown that they experienced in the first Jurassic Park movie, why would he do that? Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because his former lover was there. And he's like, oh my gosh, I have to go get you out of there now. Because he doesn't want to go back.
No, I'm talking about Jurassic World, too.
Oh, Jurassic World?
Yeah.
Oh. I felt like it's just something's going to happen. I don't know. Maybe it's the same premise as, like, The Lost World. He doesn't want to go back, but he has to kind of go back.
I guess. Or, it could be that he doesn't even go back. It's just like a cameo on the mainland.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
That's true.
Okay. Next news item here is it was announced that Seth Rogen will be voicing Pumba and Billy Eichner will be voicing Timon in the upcoming live-action remake of The Lion King. Yeah. So, Timon and Pumbaa, probably fan favorite characters. Obviously, like Simba, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mufasa, pretty cool. I'm sure that people.
I love the emphasis you put on the name, by the way.
I'm sure people, love Scar, and the hyenas are funny. Anyway, but Timon and Pumbaa, very, very funny characters. They got their own spin-off cartoon in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s, somewhere in that neighborhood. Anyway, so I don't know who voiced Pumbaa, but I know that Timon was voiced by Nathan Lane.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Now, Nathan Lane, he doesn't do too much acting anymore. He has a minor character role on Modern Family. The biggest role that I can think of, well, he was in this movie called Mousetrap. I don't know if you ever saw it. Oh my gosh, I love that movie. It's so funny. It's probably the biggest role I can think of is from The Producers. The remake that they made in... I have no idea when that came out. But he co-starred with Matthew Broderick and Uma Thurman, as well as a few other people. But anyway, Nathan Lane, he is very openly gay, as is Billy Eichner, which I feel like influenced this voice casting. Not because of their sexual orientation necessarily, but they have... how do I say this without sounding very insensitive? They have very similar voices because... You know what? I'm gonna shut up because this is not going to end well.
That's a good idea.
But so Billy Eichner, he's also a comedian. He had a small role on Parks and Rec in like the last couple seasons after Pawnee and Eagleton merged. He came over from the Eagleton Parks and Rec department. He has a wonky eye.
Is that the...
He yells all the time.
Yeah.
That's Billy Eichner.
Really?
Yeah.
He plays Pumba?
No, he's going to voice Timon.
Oh, he's going to do Timon.
Yes.
I can kind of see it, actually.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, Billy's thing is, like, he just yells all the time, like, all the time.
He does.
Which, is funny at first, but it gets a little grating. And
yeah, that's why, like, I never knew how I felt about his character.
Yeah. And, like, Timon does some yelling, but... not as much as Billy I can see Billy doing, so we'll see how this movie goes. Anyway, and then Seth Rogen, everybody knows Seth Rogen. I think that's a good choice for Pumba.
I like it.
Yeah,
especially whenever like Seth Rogen, he gets like kind of maybe frustrated, but like when like he gets stressed, his voice kind of goes like oh
yeah.
So I think it's gonna be really good with Pumba.
Yeah.
Do you still remember what I told you?
I do.
Did you tell him?
No, you go ahead.
No, I don't want to tell him.
Oh, all right. I guess it'll just be a secret for us then.
Yeah, I mean, I said his cousin kind of sounded like Seth Rogen a couple of times.
Yes.
When I met him, he was really cool. I liked him. I just like when I heard him talking to your brother when he was trying to put his rearview mirror back on. Like he was like, "Don't do that." And it just sounded so much like Seth Rogen.
Okay, let's move on here. So we got some release dates for upcoming Disney films all the way through 2021. Now, we're not going to go over all of them because there's a ton. So we're just going to pick out some highlights here. So we'll skip 2017 because that's already set in stone and we've kind of talked about it all, so it's not really necessary. Black Panther in February of 2018. That's awesome. I'm super pumped for that film.
Me too.
Then we have Avengers Infinity War in May of 2018. We already knew that. May 4th specifically. And then...
how ironic.
What?
You say May 4th?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even catch that. And then the Han Solo movie on May 25th. So, like, 2.5 weeks later. Which is... No, sorry, 3 weeks later. Which is crazy. But cool, I guess. Incredibles 2, June 2018. Ant-Man of July 2018. Wreck-It Ralph 2 got pushed back to November instead of March, which is lame, but whatever. It got replaced by this movie called A Wrinkle in Time, which I don't know what that's about. It's definitely not like a classic Disney animation remake or anything like that, so it's something original, but who knows. Captain Marvel, May 2019. The next Avengers movie, May 3rd, 2019, and then Star Wars Episode 9, May 24th, 2019. So 2 years in a row, we get an Avengers movie, and then 3 weeks later, a Star Wars movie. Exactly.
What a time to be alive.
And
here we are just complaining about it.
Yeah, I know, right? Toy Story 4, June 2019. The Lion King live action, July 2019. Frozen 2, November 2019. And then the last one that we're going to talk about is Indiana Jones, July 2020. They confirmed Harrison Ford to be in that role again. So he just can't get away from Disney no matter how hard he tries, I guess. Yep. But I don't know. They just need to let that poor man retire. Like, I don't think he wants to act anymore.
I don't know. I agree.
Or at least not in those like big, like very, those like, especially in Indiana Jones. Like Han Solo, kind of physically intensive, but Indiana Jones is always running and fighting and stuff. And oof. Okay, last news item, and then we're finally going to take a break. We got the subtitle, release timeline, and carrier for the next season of Young Justice. So it's going to be called Young Justice Outsiders. It's going to be releasing next year. They didn't give like a month or anything, but we know it's not going to be this year for sure. It's going to be on the newly created DC app. So,
which is so weird.
Yeah,
because
let's circle back to that. So Young Justice Outsiders, that's cool. The first season didn't have a subtitle. Second season was called Young Justice Invasion, which was very
appropriate.
Yes. So this Outsiders one, a little bit more vague, but you know, whatever. They had like a 2-sentence synopsis of what the season's going to be about. Basically, the team is going to be dealing with metahuman trafficking, which is
holy crap!
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool that they're focusing on that. Just I was not expecting that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's pretty weird, but I can dig it. So this DC app, not what I was expecting.
Neither was I. Especially because so many of the fans were watching it on Netflix. So they're assuming that because like Netflix carried it, they would put it back onto Netflix.
Right. Yeah. So when we talked about the announcement of Young Justice season 3, we both were in agreement that it wasn't coming back to Cartoon Network. Like there was no way they were going to make that deal. You know, they could have put it on like the CW, I guess. That would have been probably probably not a very good
cartoon,
idea.
like an animated format like that.
Yeah, I obviously wouldn't have gone to Nickelodeon or Disney because they don't own the rights to DC. So, yeah, like the only other thing that really would have made sense would be some online platform, either Hulu, which, boo, I hate Hulu. Netflix would have been perfect. Yeah. But instead they're going with this app. Now, this could go one of two ways. One, either no one's going to watch it on the app. Like they're going to wait for it to come elsewhere on the internet. And it's going to tank. Like it's going to get terrible ratings. And they're going to say, oh, see, people didn't want Young Justice after all. Like we're going to cancel it again. That would be awful. Or they're like, hey, Young Justice is super popular. Everyone's going to want this app so that they can watch it. And then it's going to be... This seems like a really underhanded move for them to try and get downloads for their app for whatever reason. Yeah. Now, I don't think it... Again, this is a new app. Like, I don't think it's even out yet. Like, they're planning to release it around the time of this Young Justice Season 3. At least that was my interpretation. I don't think it's going to be a paid app. That seems like it would be a really poor choice. But even just having people go the step of, hey, you have to download this thing on your phone.
In order to watch this.
Yes. Yeah. That just seems really underhanded way for them to force people to do it. Like, I know for me... Like, even regardless of the fact that I would have to sit through commercials, navigate through this app to get to the show, I don't have enough space on my phone to download another app. Yeah. Like, my data space on my... The amount of storage space on my phone is very precious. Very limited.
I know.
So I don't have room to go download
memes,
this DC.
Man.
I can't download this DC app, so I'm going to have to watch it some other way. But I love Young Justice. I want it to continue forever and ever.
Me too.
So this is I'm not super thrilled with this decision. Maybe, hopefully, some point they'll put it on Netflix, but...
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, that is all the news we have. So we're going to take a break, watch some trailers, come back, and you'll have to listen to us some more. Please listen to us some more. Please don't end it right here. That would be bad, because the best is yet to come. Okay, we are back, and we've got a number of trailers to talk about, so let's stop beating around the bush and get right to it. And we're going to kick things off with the mother of all trailers. Who gets more hyped for trailers than Star Wars fanboys? Right. So at Star Wars Celebration a couple weeks ago, they showed off the first trailer for Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. And people got all riled up, and I thought it was a good trailer.
I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. It wasn't the second coming of trailers or anything, but
it was like enough visual, but not enough to tell us what was going on, and I liked that.
Right.
And it just looked good.
Yeah. So, I mean, more than anything, they focused on Rey's training, which isn't surprising. You know, we're certainly going to get a lot of that in the movie, but you know, there's going to be other stuff too. Like, obviously, she's going to have to leave at some point to go, presumably, fight Kylo Ren and find out that he's her father. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. As far as... God, we watched so many trailers since then. I kind of forgot what happened.
So it opens up with, you know, it's really quiet. Then Rey is like on the ground, like she's breathing really hard.
Right.
And it kind of goes on to show like different, just kind of horizon shots. Then it shows her wielding the lightsaber, just like twirling around. She's doing a Man of Steel thing, where like her hands on the ground and
the rocks are floating.
Then we see Finn chilling out in the back of the tank.
Yeah.
We see Poe and BB-8 running down a hallway.
And something blows up.
Yeah. We see Leia looking at some holograms. Kylo Ren pointing his lightsaber. We see a shot of Luke and R2-D2 seeing a building on fire. So maybe that's when he's trying to establish a new Jedi Order.
Yeah.
And when the Knights of Ren destroyed it. And then, we got to see some of Captain Phasma and the First Order Stormtroopers. So they're back. More space battles, which makes me really, really happy. Especially after Rogue One. I'm super pumped for more space battles. And then after that, we ended with Luke saying, I know one truth, that it's time for the Jedi to end.
Yes. Very cryptic.
And then I'm like, what? Why would you say that? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I remember when it finally dropped, I was at work at the restaurant. And then automatically everybody I knew was posting it. And I couldn't watch it. So I decided to take my bathroom break at that time. I'm like, I have to really use the bathroom. Can I use it? I'm like, yeah, sure. And so I ran into the bathroom, put my headphones on, just played it. And then, so when I came back out, they're like, why are you so like excited looking? I'm like, oh, no reason. And then my coworker's like, how did you like share this even though you haven't seen it yet? I'm like, but I'm super excited for this because you and I both really liked The Force Awakens. Yeah. So I would love, I need to see where they're going with this story because I'm already in love with what they've done so far. Yeah. I'm just so excited. Everything was great. Oh my gosh. It has like that really... there's different feels that you can get from Star Wars. Like, you know, when the opening credit happens and you hear the like... Dun, 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 it's like that just happy, overwhelming sensation. This one, like, I like this type of trailers with Star Wars because you feel very like mysterious and foreboding. Right. But it's still an awesome feeling. And I'm just so, so happy that I get to experience this. Yeah, me too. Sorry, I've been really wanting to talk about this for a while. I just hadn't had a chance. Well, that's what we're here for. That's true. Then we watched the trailer for Thor Ragnarok. And I liked this trailer a lot. A lot of people really like this trailer. It showed off a very different tone of the Thor movies, which I think is really necessary because, like I said earlier, you know, Thor 2, again, not a terrible movie, just very forgettable. Yeah. And so this one, I feel like, is really shaking it up. And everything that we saw pretty much kind of did that, from the music choice, which was very strange, to the ending where they threw up the title was very, like, retro, like, Technicolor kind of thing. It gave me a lot of a Guardians of the Galaxy vibe, too. Yeah. Yeah. There was also one point where there was some dude like shooting guns, which is weird for a Thor movie. So, yeah, a lot of cool things. I like Thor with short hair. Okay. This villain chick, I'm not super sold on. But is it because she looks like Aku? No. Oh, because when she has her like horn thingy, she kind of looks like Aku. See, I wasn't sure that was her. I thought it was, but I wasn't positive.
Nah, she just seems.
But what
from
about
the like 3 seconds?
What
we
about
saw,
Mjolnir though? She broke Mjolnir.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. So in the comic books right now, for those who don't know, Thor is currently Jane Foster, so it's female Thor, and then there's a separate comic book line called the Unworthy Thor, which follows Odinson, trying to regain his worthiness to wield Mjolnir. And so I feel like this movie is not necessarily straight following that comic book line.
But they're taking elements from it.
Right. It's obviously much more in the Ragnarok story arc. But yeah, it is borrowing a lot from this because we see the hammer get broken. He's, on this war planet where he has to fight against the Hulk and all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, I think that's pretty interesting and definitely something we haven't seen so far. Well, actually, that's not true. The beginning of the middle part of the first Thor movie, he didn't have the hammer. He was unworthy. So, yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this movie. I like Thor. Think it should be good. Okay, so then we watched a prologue movie for Alien Covenant, and basically it was just to fill in the gap between Prometheus and this next movie that's coming out, Alien Covenant. And I don't know, it was good. Like, I feel like it was necessary, but it wasn't enough for me. Like, I don't know if I would have necessarily wanted a whole movie in between then, but I mean, if they could have made a compelling story out of it, then sure, why not? Because my biggest downside to Prometheus was they posed a lot of questions that we didn't get satisfactory answers to, and not even necessarily the promise that future movies would answer those questions. Right. So
I feel like this is the closest to a sequel that Prometheus will ever get.
Right. I mean, this Alien Covenant is supposed to be a sequel, sort of.
But kind of not really at the same time.
Right. And
that's the thing I hate about Ridley Scott whenever he does this.
Yeah.
Is that he always gives a lot of open-ended things. And in some ways, it's a nice thing because he leaves it up to your imagination, but at the same time, he does it so much that it's just a lot of kind of filling in the gap of your own stuff, and then you kind of see like, oh, this fits in, but at the same time, it doesn't fit in at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just, maybe for us, it's just a little bit frustrating because for him, I hope he has the big picture. Sometimes I feel like he kind of just makes it up as he goes along.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not... Well, okay, so as far as what actually happens, so the main chick from Prometheus, I want to say her name is Mary.
I thought it was Elizabeth.
Maybe. I mean, they were cousins, so you could see I would get that mixed up. Anyway, funny. So she fixes the android David from the first movie, and then he puts her in cryosleep, and they set off to find the home planet of the engineers. And basically, she goes to sleep, and then he's like, so I was chilling out, trying to learn about the engineers, because they were on their ship. I guess he found logs or something, I don't know. And then we see their ship dock in this weird, like, hook thing on the engineer home planet, and that was it. So not too much to talk about. Like I said, I would have liked to have seen more, but you can't always get what you want, I guess. Then we watched the trailer for Atomic Blonde. Now, we talked about the first trailer, and I don't have too much more to say about this one. It was a lot more of the same, flashy action, some kind of dark humor elements, which I don't know, I feel like sets it apart from other movies in this genre. I mean, obviously, most movies like, James Bond or John Wick, they have their, like...
one-liners.
Yeah.
And just a little bit of humor every now and then.
And this one seems to take that like one step further. So it's not like, an action comedy. It's much more action with more comedy than a typical action movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it looks good. I think I'll probably watch it at some point. Probably not in theaters, but it looks intriguing enough for me to see what it's about.
I agree,
Yeah. So then we watched the trailer for Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Now, Brandon has not seen the original movie, but I have, fortunately. And I liked the original Kingsman, except for the very last scene. I could have done without, but maybe that's just me. Sorry, there's a post credits sequence, not that part. The quote main ending, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, this one we didn't really get any story. Basically, things are bad. Like the mansion that the Kingsman's base gets blown up. There's only 2 Kingsmen now, which is not good for them, I guess. And it doesn't look like they're going to do the recruitment process. Do I need to give the backstory for the Kingsman movie? Okay, real quick backstory. The Kingsmen are so we have the CIA, right? And then there's the Secret Service. And so the Kingsmen are like a combination of the two. They're like intelligence / security guards for the British government, if that makes sense.
Okay. They're
like the most elite spy soldier people possible. And so the first movie is about this kid named Eggsy. His father was a Kingsman, but his father died. And so he was raised by his mother, who kind of had a bad life after that. So he lived on the streets. He's not on the streets, he had a home, but he's very rough, not high class British. He gets recruited to try out for the Kingsmen, and he has this whole rigmarole of the application process.
Rigmarole.
And some bad stuff happens. Samuel L. Jackson is in there. He has a lisp.
Never understood that.
Yeah, it was a strange choice. So some bad stuff happens, and he becomes Kingsman. And this movie looks like more of the same. So again, I'm down with it. I'm probably, I could be persuaded to go see it. Yeah. All right, so the next trailer we watched, transitioning to TV for now. There's a new trailer for the upcoming Cloak and Dagger series. So I feel like we've talked about this TV show a fair amount, reporting on casting and, when it was announced it was going to be on Freeform and all that good stuff. But now we actually get some, video behind it. And my first impression was that the production quality was a lot higher than I was expecting.
Yeah. Me too. That's what I thought too.
Freeform / ABC Family. I've actually never watched any of their original programming, but just maybe I'm just biased, but my thought was that the production quality was never anything to write home about. Mm-hmm. But this seemed, pretty decent.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of basically Marvel's Netflix shows.
Yeah. So that was good. Everything else, I don't know. It was very dark. There was a lot of really dark shots. It was kind of hard to see.
Yeah, both dark in terms of content, and both in terms of literally there's a lot of shadows.
Yeah. So that was fine. I don't know. They really didn't get into the whole superpower thing too much. I mean, a very little bit towards the end.
Which is probably for the best.
Yeah.
I think for this show, I think it's probably for the best.
Yeah. But if I didn't know what it was about, I wouldn't have known what was happening really, because it does show her summon her little, I guess she calls it a dagger, but it really just looks like a rock, like a little crystal shard kind of. But anyway, It did show her some in that, but if I didn't know that's what it was supposed to be, I would have just been like, where did that rock come from, you know? And he doesn't do his whole teleportation thing, so my thoughts haven't changed on this. I guess I'm a little bit more positive seeing that the production quality is higher than I was expecting, but
and it's like this pretty decent acting from the trailer, but still, like, it looked pretty decent.
Yeah. So then we didn't watch the Krypton trailer because we couldn't find it. That was unfortunate.
Apparently, it was taken down.
Yeah. But then we watched a trailer for an upcoming TV adaptation of The Mist. Mm-hmm. So The Mist was a short story / novella written by Stephen King and was adapted into a movie in the mid-2000s. Now, I'm pretty sure I've talked about it on the show, but for new listeners or people who don't remember, I effing love this movie. It is one of my favorite movies ever. It is so, so, so good. I made you watch it, right?
No.
Oh.
I wasn't there.
You're missing out, man.
I'm missing out.
Okay, so really...
Sorry. You're like transition back to... Okay, you gotta put it back together.
Alright, so really brief synopsis of The Mist. It takes place in this small town in Maine. And there's this army base there where they conduct all of these like top secret experiments. And one day they accidentally open a door to another dimension, which unleashes a bunch of super scary monsters and this...
Stranger Things.
Yeah, pretty much. And this very ethereal mist, which blankets the whole town. It's like in this impenetrable cloud of mist. So in the movie... the main character with his son and a bunch of people from town, they barricade themselves inside of the local grocery store. And so what I like to say about The Mist is that it is a monster movie that focuses on how people react in super scary situations. Like the monsters are there, but that's not what's so scary. It's the other people in the store and how quickly they turn on each other. If you've ever read Lord of the Flies, it's sort of in that vein, just with more supernatural elements. Did you ever read Lord of the Flies?
I haven't.
Oh, okay. We had to read it in 8th grade. It was pretty good, I guess. Should probably read it again and probably missed out a lot of the subtext. But anyway. So this TV adaptation looks similar in some respects, but pretty different in other respects. We did see a scene of like the manager of like a local mall telling people to get inside, lock the doors, all that kind of thing. But we also saw like a church and like there was like another scene where people were holed up, wasn't there? Whatever.
I want to say it was like in another grocery store.
Maybe. So it looks like there's more spread out. There's going to be more characters. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a mini-series or if they're planning on, expanding it, stretching it out. I don't think that would be a good idea. And maybe this is just me being biased because I love the movie version so much that I don't want them to change it too much. But to stretch this out over, multiple seasons, bring it out, 5-6 years, whatever, that just seems very implausible. But at the same time, I also do kind of want to see it just to get more of that universe, to see what else could come through that dimension. But I don't know. It just, I'm one of those people who has a hard time separating my feelings for the source material from my feelings from a remake.
Right. That makes sense.
Seeing this show won't diminish my love for the movie. If anything, if I don't like the show, that'll just make me appreciate the movie more for how much I love it. But I really want this show to be successful. And if it can establish its own identity, be good without, having too much similar from the movie, then I think I could really like it. But, I'll have to see, I guess. Or it could just be a mini series, just kind of a longer, deeper dive into the mist without being too long.
Which, I mean, I think that might be the best bet.
Yeah.
Just because you don't want to overstretch it out.
Yeah. Or, they could, one of the things that they don't focus on is everything takes place in this small town. And we do hear, some radio reports of, this mist has stretched down to Boston, or I think it might get down as far as Florida. But, we don't hear anything about, the middle of the country or the West Coast or anything. Yeah. So if they could... And I know I said this about Fear the Walking Dead, but I feel like it's very applicable because a lot of the themes are very similar. If they could, each season could take place in a different city with people, reacting differently to, hearing about the news from across the country or that kind of thing, that could be a really interesting take. I can't think of any shows that have done that, where there's one singular event that takes place, and then each season or even each episode focuses on a different set of characters reacting to that event and how it affects their lives from different geographical positions. Because how fear and news spreads, it would take different times to affect different people. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
So that's
it's something to possibly think about.
Yeah, or we could just write our own TV screenplay.
Yeah, just kind of turn it in. Oh man, I imagine the horrors that would come from that.
Yeah. Alrighty, so then we watched a handful of Injustice 2 trailers. So the first thing we watched was Shattered Alliances Part 5, in which we see the invasion of Brainiac and his forces. Now, Brainiac's not my favorite villain. He's pretty cool, but his motivations, I've never been... I don't know, you can't connect with them on the level that you can of, Magneto. Uh-huh. Because Magneto's human, Brainiac's a robot.
Right.
His vision is so binary of, he's like, this is my goal. Yeah, this is my purpose. I'm going to achieve that purpose, whatever. So, Brainiac, he's fine. Again, not my favorite, not my least favorite. But what we see in this trailer is very standard for Brainiac. We've seen this before in the Superman animated series, or actually that's pretty much it. He hasn't been in any of the movies, which is kind of weird because he's such a big part of the Superman universe. But anyway, so I wasn't super impressed. The only wrinkle this time around is that Superman is a bad guy because of the whole events from the first game, and they have to break him out because he's the only person who has a chance of beating Brainiac in this story.
Yeah, that's what I actually kind of liked about it.
Yeah.
Because, like what you said, it's kind of standard for your classic / invasion story / Brainiac story, but having to get your former villain out to fight another evil, it's you got to pick the lesser of two evils.
But there's also good Superman still, so why not?
But then they would have to call him back from that dimension.
Yeah.
To kind of come up to it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested to see where the story goes around, because...
Oh, I definitely am.
Based from what I'm seeing, it's Brainiac was beating the crap out of everybody.
Yep, so, that's what he does.
That looked pretty fun.
So then we watched the gameplay trailer for Brainiac. Yeah. And he looks really cool. I think he looks like a lot
I actually
of fun.
thought his moves were very interesting, because he fights with his regular he can punch you, he can kick you, but then he has his tentacles, which he can call upon, and it's really cool. What I'd like to see from the way he moves his arms and his legs, he kind of commands them to kind of go forward. So if he makes a waving motion with his arm, the tentacle will do the same thing that he does. So I thought that was pretty cool. And it gives him more of a diverse kind of set move, and also a unique set move as well.
Yeah. So he's got some pretty good medium range attacks. Yeah. He also had a couple laser things, so he could call in some drones to attack from long range. So he looks like he's got a pretty varied move set. His super move,
it was okay.
Yeah, it was
better.
bad.
It was better than most. But
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know about that. Like
it's better than most, but it's not great.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of Lex Luthor's from the first.
Oh
game,
yeah.
But Lex's was way cooler. So okay, let's talk about Brainiac. So first thing he does is kick the opponent, right? And knocks him back. What?
Huh? Oh no, yeah.
Yeah. So knocks the opponent back. And then that's when the cinematic starts. And then 4 of the drones pop down and shoot out tentacles from their chest to latch onto the opponent to anchor them in place. And then the Brainiac mothership positions itself over the target and sends down this one giant laser blast.
That's about it.
Yeah, that was it. And then in the first game, Lex Luthor's super move is he calls in this little satellite beam, right? Mm-hmm. And then he puts his hands over his head, does a spirit bomb, like it gathers up this laser power in his hands, and then he throws it down at the opponent. So similar, but Lex's is cooler because he does a spirit bomb.
Right.
But I digress. But yeah, I think Brainiac looks really cool.
Me too.
I feel like if I ever get to play this game, I feel like I could use him a lot. Then we watched I think Darkseid was next. Yeah, so Darkseid also looks really cool.
I really like
he reminds me a lot of Zod from the first game, like everything from his walking animation to like his moves.
Dance. Yeah.
And then obviously the laser vision versus Omega Beam thing. So there's a lot of similarities.
But there's so much you can do with the Omega Beam.
Yeah. His gameplay is very Omega Beam heavy.
Yeah.
Like there's one where he shoots at the ground and does this little sneaky along the ground to hit the opponent. A lot of Omega Beams.
A lot where you can like shoot on the opposite side and hit the opponent.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of it.
Yeah, I was like laughing so hard at that. I was like, okay.
And then his super move, I actually liked his super move.
I actually really liked it a lot too.
My only thing about it is that I don't know how you're supposed to block it because it looks so unpredictable. Yeah. That seems a little unfair, but I mean, I don't know.
But then, like, I love it so much because he shoots you into space, and it doesn't end there. Like, he kind of like throws you into an asteroid field. And what I love about the Omega Beams is the fact that it angles everything, so you kind of go like joink. And I thought you hit a moon, but it ends up like he teleports his hand out, and like he kind of just throws you back into the arena. Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah. So Darkseid also looks really cool. Unfortunately, since I don't have a PS4, I'm not gonna do the pre-order thing, and he's a pre-order bonus. Like you have to pay for him afterwards, but it's kind of lame.
Yeah.
And then the last trailer we watched was for the Joker. So this Joker has a very different design from pretty much any Joker that I can think of. He's got like I can't really think of any way to describe it except for like an emo haircut.
Pretty much.
But other than that, out of all of the characters that we've seen, like returning characters, he looks the most similar from the first game out of anyone that I can think of.
No, that's true.
The only difference that I can see really is that instead of a crowbar, that was his primary weapon in the first game, is that...
No, he used a knife.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but at times he pulls out a crowbar.
Yeah. So it's pretty much the same. I don't really have anything to add other than that. So we can talk about his super move. Basically, he kicks the opponent into an electrical chair, zaps them, and blows them up.
He hits you with a crowbar first, and then he does it all that.
Yeah, there's like a bunch of firecrackers underneath. Yeah, so it was.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was very Joker.
Yeah.
Didn't really. I don't know. It felt so slow for the pace of a fighting game, but other than that, it was fine. So yeah, that's it for Injustice. But that brings us to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. We watched one story trailer and one gameplay trailer. We watched the story trailer first. So we see a rendezvous between Ultron, who we're all familiar with, and Sigma. For those who don't know, Sigma is the main villain of at least the first game in the Mega Man X series. So that's neat. And then they do they're both robotics, so they like rebuild themselves to be a combination of each other's designs. I liked it. It looked pretty cool.
It was really interesting.
And then we see him fighting against the Avengers and a handful of Capcom characters. I think there was Chun-Li, Strider, Hiryu, and Chris Redfield.
Mega Man comes in there too.
Oh, yeah, X, yeah. And the Avengers, we saw Captain America, very briefly Iron Man, Hawkeye, Thor, Hulk. Did I say Hulk already? I don't think so. We didn't see Black Widow. We didn't see any of the other, like anybody else from Civil War, like Ant-Man or whatever. So yeah, I think that's a good story. The story in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was almost non-existent. Basically, you see Galactus come in to eat the world. You fight a bunch of characters that have nothing to do with Galactus. And then the final stage is you fight 3 of Galactus's heralds. Or maybe it's, I think it's only 2 of his heralds out of 4 possible. I know for sure that Dr. Doom and Wesker are heralds in that game, and I don't remember the other 2. So anyway, you beat them, and then you face Galactus. You beat Galactus, and that's it. Like, there's no cinematic as far as I can remember. So basically, there's no story. So this seems a lot more story heavy, which is really cool. Also, kind of important these days in a video game. Like, people want to feel like they're getting their money's worth, and a good story is a way to do that.
Especially with fighting games.
Yeah. Obviously, the multiplayer is going to be the key component here, but a good story I think is good too. Visually, I think it looked good. Both the cinematic and even the gameplay. It looks a lot different from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but, I dug it. The characters, at least on the Marvel side, got some pretty heavy overhauls to reflect their more closely reflect their MCU counterparts, which is not surprising. And I like their designs in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but here they were fine. But yeah. It's going to be hard for this game to replace Marvel vs. Capcom 3 for me personally. Not as a player, because I'm terrible at it, but as a spectator. Yeah. Is my favorite fighting game to watch, just because there's so much skill and so much nuance involved. And, when you see people pull off these crazy combos that go on for like 3 minutes, or do their super cool level 3 hyper combos, or pull off a perfect, like seeing somebody pull off perfect is always like super enjoyable. My gosh, I know. So this game has a lot to live up to, but based on what we've seen so far, it has a chance of matching it. I don't think it has a chance of taking that spot as my favorite game to watch, but, miracles happen.
One thing that threw me off from the gameplay trailer was, like, how much dialogue that kept getting said between the moves.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, in the middle of the fighting, like each character would just kind of keep talking to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to see, like, what's going on screen, but at the same time trying to listen to them at the same time. And it just kept going on and on. And even in the middle of, like, their super moves, they would just be doing it. And I'm like, oh my god, what are you saying right now? And it's very reminiscent of, like, how, like, a lot of times in Japanese fighting games, it kind of happens. Yeah. So I just thought it was a funny little thing. Like, it wasn't a turn-off for me. It was just, like, a funny little thing to notice. Because when Ultron was fighting them, it's like, like, haha, be defeated. And I was like, why are you saying this right now?
Yeah. So that's all of our trailers. And now I'm going to do the newest segment to our show, which we've been doing for a few weeks now, which is the Hot Takes segment. Now, I've got a bunch here, and we're already going pretty long, and I feel like our Alien vs. Predator discussion is going to go pretty long, so I'll try to limit myself here. But the first one I want to talk about, and I'm sure Brandon wants to hear about, is Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
So, Rick and Morty. I was trying to think of the best way to describe it, and what I came up with is Rick and Morty is a combination of Back to the Future and South Park and what was the other one I thought of? Futurama. So Rick and Morty is the story of Rick Sanchez and Morty
Smith.
Yeah, Smith. So Rick is the grandpa, Morty's the grandson, and Rick is a super genius inventor who has the technology to travel between dimensions and like do all kinds of crazy stuff. And Morty is in middle school and he's super dumb. Rick is also an alcoholic. He's crazy. Yeah, he lives with Morty's family after his wife died. Or no, he lives with Morty's family just after a really long time of not being with them. And basically the two of them just go on all kinds of crazy adventures. Morty's family gets involved a lot throughout the course of the show.
So I asked, did you see both seasons? Or so you saw both seasons?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Season 3 just started, so I decided I'll just wait till the whole thing is out before I watch it.
What'd you think?
So I was really, before going into it, I didn't really know what was about too much. Like I knew Rick and Morty, I knew there's a lot of like crazy dimensions.
Because I mentioned it on the show, and like I told you, before you watch it, just go in very wary. Yeah. Just be careful when you watch it. Yeah,
and so then the first episode happened, I was like, okay, this is like kind of weird, but I'll keep going.
Somewhat entertaining.
Yeah, and then it just some point got like super bonkers, just like really weird, really funny. One thing is that the guy who voices Morty voices Lemongrab in Adventure Time.
He also voices Rick too.
Yeah, so I was going to bring that up, but I probably wouldn't have I might not have noticed that if you hadn't pointed it out to me. I probably would have thought like, this voice sounds familiar. Who is it? And then I would look it up. Like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But once you hear it, you can't unhear the Lemongrab voices,
especially in Morty
influence,
or like because he voices multiple characters throughout the show. So you'll just hear like.
And then, like Brandon said, he also voices Rick, which I actually didn't know until I looked it up to see who voices the mom. Who, side note, is voiced by Sarah Chalke, who plays Elliot from Scrubs, which was really random. Oh, also the dad is voiced by Chris Parnell, who was a longtime cast member on SNL. He had a small role on 30 Rock as Dr. Leo Spichemin, who was probably my favorite character on that show. And also he voices one of the characters on Archer, which is another show I really love. So yeah, anyway, but Rick also voiced by the guy who voices Morty, which is really crazy. It's really, really impressive. But yeah, the show is just so weird.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I really did. I really did end up enjoying it a lot. The only thing was that the second season ended on a big cliffhanger. Yeah. Because it's not a story-driven show at all, but there's like a huge cliffhanger at the end of the second season, which was really nuts. So now I really want season 3 to finish so I can watch it.
I saw the first episode of season 3.
Oh yeah? Is it good?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's good. I'll spoil this much. Nathan Fillion, he does a voice. He's a guest voice on the show.
So probably the only complaint that I can think of, and this is like the smallest complaint that it's almost not even worth mentioning, but their pupils are not perfectly round. They're like splotchy.
Apparently there's a reason for that, and I forgot what the reason was because they addressed it, and I forgot why they didn't do. Oh my god.
Yeah, so like most of the time you can't tell, but like if they close up on a character's face, then you can really see it, and it's weird.
That show is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
I actually like this show a lot. I remember first watching like I shouldn't be watching this, but I kept watching more and more and more. Yeah. But I'm glad you like it. Because it's definitely become a cult classic, and a lot of people, it's really popular too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so next we'll talk about Skylanders Academy. So, do you know anything about Skylanders?
Very little.
Okay.
Very little.
So Skylanders is a Toys to Life franchise made by a studio called Toys for Bob. There's another studio. They like switch off years. Vicarious Visions. And published by Activision. So basically, it's kind of a dungeon crawler-esque genre.
Dungeon?
Yes, thank you. But the thing is that you bring the characters into the game by scanning these physical toys onto your little portal, which brings them into the game, and the save data, like all their level ups and their moves that they have, are saved to the figure so that you can take it to your friend's house and have that character saved on the figure. And the Skylanders are this heroic group of heroes that protect Skylands, which is where they live and where they get their name from these evil forces. The main recurring bad guy is this evil. The closest thing you could call him is a wizard named Chaos, who is really just this little kid who's like a punk. But he's a very powerful sorcerer, I guess. So Skylanders Academy is a TV show adaptation based off of this franchise. It begins with basically the three main Skylanders that we follow around graduating from Skylanders Academy. So we have Spyro the Dragon, who you probably know from the old Spyro games, and then Stealth Elf, who is this ninja chick, and Eruptor, who is this lava creature. So Spyro is voiced by Justin Long, who he was in the movie Accepted. That's a really funny movie. I can't think of anything else that he's like really well known for. He was in The Breakup. He was in He's Just Not That Into You. You got anything?
I really don't.
Okay. Anyway,
sorry.
You would probably know him if you saw him.
Probably.
Oh, he was in Jeepers Creepers.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, that was a bad movie. Anyway, and then Stealth Elf is voiced by Ashley Tisdale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you probably know her best from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody or possibly High School Musical. And then this is the biggest surprise. Eruptor is voiced by Jonathan Banks.
What?
Who you would probably best know as Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
Are you serious?
I am serious. And he is so weird in that show because his character is like Anger from Inside Out. But he also has in contrast to Anger. So he has a temper, like he gets all worked up and stuff. But he's also like a big softie. So like you'll see him cry and stuff, and it's really weird. And so because Mike is so
badass.
Yeah, but he's
really stoic at the same time. Yeah,
exactly. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. Whereas here, like he has a lot of range of emotion. It's just funny to hear his voice do that. It's really funny.
Because also he played in Arkham Knight. He played Commissioner Gordon, and you saw a lot of like Jonathan Banks in that. But from what you're telling me, it's like, oh, that's so funny. Yeah. Especially when like him being a softie. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it is. And then, so we get introduced to some other Skylanders, but we don't need to talk about them too much. And then there's these bad guys, this group of bad guys who are trying to, basically they're just up to no good. So I have I'm pretty familiar with the Skylanders franchise, even though I don't collect any of them. I've watched playthroughs for almost all of the games. So I went in with a pretty decent amount of knowledge, and I enjoyed it, but I feel like you could enjoy it even if you didn't really know anything about Skylanders. So, yeah, I would give it a thumbs up.
Nice.
Let's see. So I also watched Death Note.
I saw on Twitter.
Yeah, so if you follow me on Twitter, you already got a little preview of this hot take, but this deserves more than 140 characters can devote. Brandon, this show is fucking amazing. I know, but that's how good it is that it deserves that word.
I take your word for it then.
Oh man, God.
Because everybody's been like telling me, hey, have you seen Death Note? Have you seen Death Note? I've never seen Death Note. And I've been meaning to get around to it. I just have never have. So now that you tell me it, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to watch this now.
So I've said before on the show, I've praised Death Note a lot, but I had forgotten just how good this show is, like how compelling the story is, how great the animation is. Just this show is almost flawless. I mean, it's just that good. Like I know that I haven't watched a ton of anime. Like I'm very inexperienced, but I honestly can't imagine an anime better than this one. Like I really can't. And if there is one, and you know of it and you're listening, like please point me in that direction because I can't fathom what it would be about and how it could be better than this. So I watched this on Netflix. The whole series is there on Netflix.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
See, you're never gonna see me again.
And so I jumped into it thinking that it was going to be the dubbed version, but I was very surprised to find out that it was actually the sub.
Okay. That's awesome, actually.
Yeah. I found out about like 20 episodes in that you can actually choose. Like they have both on there.
What?
Yeah. So that was cool to know. The first time I watched it, I watched the dub. And I thought the dub was good, but I think second time around, I'm glad I watched the sub just to have a different experience. We've had the whole sub versus dub argument, but two things that I don't think we ever brought up before is that one, if you watch a bunch of episodes in a row, all that reading gets a little bit tiresome.
Yeah, that's true.
And the other thing is that, and this is kind of a good thing and a bad thing, but watching the dub or the sub requires your complete attention. Like if you can't stop to like send somebody a text message or read Twitter, like you have to be paying attention or else you're going to miss what happens. And the other thing, something that I did encounter a couple times is that like the speech would be going too fast for the subtitles. So if it was like a short sentence, like you wouldn't get to read the whole thing before it would move on to the next thing, which was kind of lame. But this show is so good. You have to watch it. Everybody should watch this show.
I promise you I will watch it. I'll watch it.
Like even if you're one of those people like, oh, it's anime, like only losers watch anime, like please get that notion out of your head. Put that pride aside, just enjoy it for the story that it is. It like I said on Twitter, and I really think this is like the best compliment you can give it, is that it's Breaking Bad levels of compelling storytelling. And if you haven't watched Breaking Bad, then also go watch that too, because it is incredible and you'll know what I'm talking about, and then you'll want to watch Death Note. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to talk about the plot or anything. Just go watch it. It's so good. Okay. All right, let me just do a few more. So last time I promised I would talk about this. I'll get to it now. I watched Ash vs. Evil Dead. So we talked about The Evil Dead a long time ago. It was the first movie group topic that we ever did. And there were two more movies in that trilogy, which I also watched. And this show is based off of those movies, set in the present. So like it acknowledges the passage of time since the last movie came out. And it's about the same character, Ash, and the same Book of the Dead, the Necronomicon, summoning these demons from the afterlife to Earth to retrieve the book, because it is the book of evil and it should be held by evil so that it can, unleash the apocalypse.
Which is to be canceled.
Exactly. That's what Ash is there to do. He's there to cancel the apocalypse.
I miss saying that.
So, just like the movies, this show is very campy, very, it takes itself seriously when it needs to, but also isn't afraid to poke fun of itself, which is something that I really love about it. The effects, like the blood and gore, are very over the top, but in that very campy way, which makes it like it's really good because it makes it so that they don't have to, pay a lot of money to, do these blood effects and stuff, but you don't mind because it's supposed to be in that vein. The story is good, it's not fantastic, but I like it a lot. They introduce some new characters to the show. These two people who worked with Ash at this little convenience store that he used to work in before the Necronomicon started summoning evil back to the world. So yeah, I recommend it. They set it up so that you really don't have to be familiar with the movies in the franchise in order to really enjoy the plot, but it does. Watching the movies is definitely beneficial to enjoying the enjoying it fully. They make some references to things that happened in the other show, and they do a good job of, showing flashbacks of the movie when they need to, or explaining what needs to be done. But, you can also appreciate some of the humor that they make jokes about stuff that happens in other movies. So that would be my only thing, is you should probably watch that before you watch the show. So, but yeah, other than that, I like it. Okay. Then I watched Preacher.
Okay.
So Preacher is an AMC show based off of a series of graphic novels. And so I'll just start with the beginning here. I really, really like this show. I give it 2 really big thumbs up. Highly recommend it, especially for you. You definitely like it. It's 10 episodes.
Okay.
And it was so good that I watched 7 episodes in one sitting without even realizing it.
What?
Yeah.
Shoot.
I won't go into the plot too much, but it's about this preacher who lives in a small town in Texas, and gets possessed by this. Basically, it's a demon. It would take too long to explain, so I'll just call it a demon for simplicity's sake. He gets possessed by this demon, and it gives him the power to command people to obey his commands with the sound of his voice. So he just has to tell them to do something, and they'll do it. And yeah, that's all I'll say about the plot. It's very interesting. That probably wasn't the best description of it, but it's really, really good. There's also angels who have come to retrieve this power, and there's an Irish vampire. So if that doesn't make you want to watch the show, I don't know what does. The main character is played by the guy who plays Howard Stark in
Agent Carter.
Yes. And also Jackie Earle Haley is in it.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, he does his thing in that show. Is anybody else famous? I don't think so. But yeah, really, really good. Definitely recommend it.
Man, the list keeps going on and on.
Well, get to it, man.
We're never going to talk to each other anymore. This keeps happening.
All right, let me just do a couple movies here. So I watched Hell or High Water, which was nominated for Best Picture this year. Also, another 2 really big thumbs up, and also takes place in Texas.
Nice.
Definitely deserving of the nomination. I thought La La Land was better, personally. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. The plot was really great. The cast was fantastic. Yeah, it was a very simple story. And the way that they explain the events of the movie. So it's about 2 brothers who are robbing banks. That's all I'll say about the plot. But the way they explain their motivation behind the bank robbing is very interesting. It makes the story even more enjoyable, as opposed to if at the beginning of the movie they'd said, here's why we're doing it, this is why we need the money. That wouldn't have made it as much fun to watch as it was to watch it unfold naturally. If that makes sense. So yeah, Hell or High Water, really good. And then last hot take for this week. Just last night I watched a movie called Mulholland Drive, and this movie was dumb. This movie was really bad. So I was going back and forth whether or not to spoil this movie, and I decided that if it's okay with you, I will spoil it, because I would not recommend anybody to watch this movie. So really, brief synopsis is this lady. The movie begins with this lady being driven down Mulholland Drive, and then all of a sudden the car stops, and the driver turns around, pulls a gun on her, tells her to get out of the car, and he comes around to try and force her to get out, and she starts resisting, and then these kids come careening around the corner and crash into the car. And so the car wrecks, and she escapes, like she's okay, but she has lost her memory. So she gets away from the wreck, she finds this apartment, breaks in, and falls asleep. And then we cut to this other chick, blonde, who arrives in Los Angeles she wants to be a movie star, and she's staying in her aunt's apartment, who's already a famous actress, but she's away filming some movie, and so she's staying there, which happens to be the apartment that this mystery woman breaks into. So the two of them meet, and the first lady, she lost her memory, so she decides to use the name Rita, and then Betty, who's the blonde, she decides she's going to help her find out who she is, like find out what happened. So they start investigating what happened. They find in her purse, like they find a ton of cash. So they're like, what is this about? So they use that as a lead. They start going and trying to find out what was happening. So they find this dead lady. They go back home. The two of them get it on. They wake up, or Rita wakes up in the middle of the night and says, I have to go to this club called Silencio. So they go to this club. This really weird play performance happens. Then they go back to the apartment, and Rita finds in her purse this mysterious blue cube. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention that also, along with the cash inside of her purse, there's this really weirdly shaped blue key. So they go back home. She finds this cube, and there's a slot for the key to fit into. So she puts it in the slot, and then she disappears. No explanation, just poof, gone. And then Betty comes in the room and says, Rita, where'd you go? Where did you go? She starts looking around the house. She looks down on the ground, finds this blue cube, picks it up, poof, disappears. So then it cuts to my interpretation, and I'll get to this in a minute, but Wikipedia says that there are multiple ways to interpret it. My interpretation is that the cube is the gateway to an alternate dimension, where all the people are the same, but they have they're different characters. So like it's the same actors playing different characters. So like Betty is a waitress. And then the person who was playing Betty was actually Rita, who was a failed actress instead of an aspiring actress. And then Rita was this successful actress named Camilla. Two of them had an affair. Then Camilla broke it off with Betty. And then basically that's how the movie ends. So the movie ends with no satisfying conclusion or explanation. I looked up on Wikipedia after, and the script was originally envisioned as the pilot for a TV show. Okay. And then the director...
It makes a lot more sense that way.
Well, sort of. The director pitched the TV show, they shot him down, so then he reworked it, made it longer, added this alternate dimension, and then turned it into a feature-length movie. And it just... yeah, it was really dumb.
Which is funny because I looked online while you were telling me this. Uh-huh. It's got like an 8 out of 10 on some things. And
they're wrong.
It's been like critically acclaimed by people.
All wrong.
And they said it was a great movie. It gives a great like sensory like overload. It makes you experience like a different reality through the art of filmmaking, all that stuff.
Nope. I mean, remember when we talked about Moonlight, how we were saying that, a good movie doesn't necessarily have to spell out everything of how a movie is. Like, it can be open to interpretation. Like, I think a great example of that is Inception, right? Like, it feeds you clues, like, it tells you the rules of this world, and then at the end, it leaves up to interpretation of, is he dreaming, is he not? Spoilers. This movie doesn't do any of that. It doesn't give you those rules or explanations. Maybe if I watched it a bunch more times, I could pick up on like some symbolism or whatever to try and give me some alternative explanation. But this movie was just intentionally confusing, and I did not enjoy that.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
Anyway, I watched few more movies, few more TV shows in the meantime, but this podcast is already running long, so I'll save that for next week. because the show that I'm actually watching a couple shows right now, and I'm not gonna spoil what they are, but they're both pretty long, so probably won't have anything new to talk about next time. So it's probably good that I'm saving some hot takes for next time.
I have some stuff to talk about next time.
Oh, okay. Do you want to give us any hints?
Hints? Nah, I'll surprise you guys.
Are they shows that I just mentioned?
No. Okay. I hope not.
Okay. So that means it is time for our discussion of Alien vs. Predator. Finally.
I know, right? That's just so long.
Yeah, I know.
Almost like it might as well be a month since we last.
I think it's been over a month because we announced it and then we took like a week off and then had the show and then we had to take 2 weeks off. So it's been a long time.
Okay, before we start, can I say how much I forgot? I forgot how much I loved this movie. Like I know we always like talk about even though like there's some problems, but we always like enjoy this movie. Right. I forgot how much I genuinely enjoyed this movie.
Yeah,
like for real.
Yeah. Okay, so quick, gotta get this out of the way. But we're going to be spoiling the crap out of this movie. So if you haven't seen it, shame on you. But I will put timestamps in the description for you to go down, check it out, so you don't have to get spoiled on what happens. So, Alien vs. Predator. We start out in 1906. This thriving whaling station in the Antarctic, and they all get killed by predators.
Yeah. Or
at least a predator. No, there's also an alien. Or a xenomorph, I should say. Yeah, so we get context for that later on, but it's a very enigmatic beginning scene. Like, I guess if you know what the premise of the movie is, it's pretty easy to figure out. But yeah. So anyway, how do you want to go about this?
I guess we could just like do a quick summary. I mean,
so Alien vs. Predator is about
aliens versus predators.
Yes, exactly.
Xenomorphs versus predators.
Yes. And also a bunch of humans.
So it was interesting the way they went about it, because after what Alex mentioned, basically what goes on to there is like the typical kind of recruitment for like a team. So this the female protagonist, what's her name?
Alexis.
Yeah, Alexis. She gets come into contact by this one. I don't know what his name is.
Wayland or his assistant?
His assistant, black guy.
Know.
So he brings her along, so like your services have been requested. So they come, her and a bunch of other like people who are specialists with either like mercenary works, cartographers, archaeologists, historians. They come to meet this old guy. His name is Wayland, right? Mm-hmm. He's this old sickly dude who said, "Hey, I want to take this expedition into the Antarctic to find this like."
There's a heat bloom.
Yeah, and I forget if he's like an energy tycoon or whatever. I just know he's really wealthy.
Right.
And so he says, I want to go and see what this is about, because he thinks that there's something hidden underneath there. So they all go there. They're like, everything's kind of normally fine, as much as you can get in the really, really cold. And so you're kind of just like walking around. They begin to dive further into the ground and into the ice to see like what's going on. And that's basically it for a couple of minutes. And then kind of cuts to some parts where the predators are getting ready to go on their hunt. So there's 3 of them. And they're just kind of gearing up and getting ready to go to that location. And yeah, it's more of the expedition team kind of, snooping around trying to see what this is.
They find the sacrifice chamber.
They do, because after a while they split up. So some of them go to the sacrifice chamber, some of them go to other places. And I forget which happens when they pull the plasma casters out, or when they activate the eggs.
The queen gets woken up when they first enter the temple.
Yeah.
They step on like a little pressure switch, which defrosts the queen. She starts producing the eggs. Mm-hmm. And then once they remove the guns is when the temple starts to close up.
So they find the guns. I think it was I forget what his name was. But he says, don't move the guns. And they just don't listen to him, so they pick them up, and that's like what you said. The temple begins to activate, and then I think that's when the eggs come out for the xenomorphs. Yeah. And that team right there, they're kind of looking around saying what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then the eggs open up and the face huggers come out and impregnate all of them. And then so it kind of goes there and things kind of progressively get just worse and worse.
Yeah.
Predators arrive to kill the one human guy that was up on the surface.
Yeah.
He tried to escape. Didn't work out. And then that's when they begin to get hunted by the predators. The team that, took the plasma guns. And you get to see how ruthless these predators are. And then Alex is almost killed by one until, lo and behold, that predator gets killed by a xenomorph. Mm-hmm. And oh my gosh, the fight that comes after it is just so good because it just has the predator and the xenomorph they literally go like
all out.
Honestly, like, you have to watch it. Like, that's probably one of my favorites, like, monster fights of all time. Oh, sorry, what were you saying?
So spoilers. I don't know if we already just spoiled it. Anyway, the predator loses that fight. And one of my biggest complaints about this movie is that it becomes 1-7 in the Xenomorph's favor so quickly. Like, 2 of the predators die just like almost immediately as soon as they start fighting against the Xenomorphs. And I don't know, I would have liked to have seen a more even match between the two, But
to be fair, I think the predator gave a pretty even match.
No, I know, but then he still ends up losing. Oh, you mean the last predator?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
And as that goes on, it's basically like the remaining 2 humans, Alexis and the one guy. I don't remember what that dude's name is.
Was he Brazilian?
He was something. I don't remember.
No, he's Italian. That's right. Now I remember. He was Italian. You're talking about him?
Yeah, the one that like they kind of had like a little crush going between the two, and then just
let's call him Luigi.
Luigi. It's a little racist, but I'll play along. So it's just basically about them trying to survive throughout this like underground temple. Yeah, and then they slowly begin to learn more of.
Wayland's still alive for the majority.
Oh yeah, and then he gets killed by the third predator.
Yes.
Originally, the predator doesn't kill him because he sees that it's sick, and it's not worthy to kill a sick opponent. Yeah. But then Wayland wants to be all badass, so he activates his flare. And how does he shoot fire at the predator again? Like, what does he do? Because I know he activates his flare, and then like he does something to spray like the flame at the predator.
Yeah.
But
doesn't he have like an oxygen tank on him?
Maybe, I think so. So it doesn't work. The predator gets really pissed at him, so he kills him.
Yeah. So quick bit of movie trivia here. The actor who plays Wayland, I don't remember his name, but he and was the guy that just died from Twister?
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I don't remember.
Bill something.
Yeah.
Bill Paxton.
Mm-hmm.
He and Bill Paxton are the only actors to have ever been killed by a xenomorph, a predator, and a Terminator on film.
It's crazy.
Yep.
But then Luigi somehow knows how to read these ancient runes.
Right.
So he goes on to explain the history of why the predators and the xenomorphs are here. And back in ancient times, the predators came to Earth and they gave they helped to build the civilization of humanity. And for payment for that, they asked if sacrifices would be made to them. So they gave them the xenomorphs. The humans would get pregnant. The xenomorphs would come. And that would allow the predators to hunt the ultimate
prey.
Is it the ultimate prey though? The prey comes.
The ultimate predators.
The ultimate like fighting machines, I guess. Because I was thinking, is it really prey if the prey fights back and kills you too?
I mean,
I guess it could be, but eventually like something happened and it got so out of hand where so many xenomorphs were created. So the predators did their best to try and save that civilization, but it just didn't work out because like literally thousands upon thousands, maybe millions of xenomorphs were made, which makes me wonder how many humans got predated.
See, I don't actually know if that happened or if it was just like a dramatic example.
I like to think that it happened. So like basically there's like
why not?
But then as a result, so the predators couldn't allow the xenomorphs to live, so they activated these bombs which destroyed the civilization. And that's why the civilization was underneath Antarctica and whatnot. Blah, blah, blah. So what ends up happening is that Luigi, I feel bad for calling him that, but Luigi gets captured by the Xenomorphs and he gets impregnated. Alexis is left. And then she's
with the predator.
Yeah, she finds the third predator. The third predator's like, do I kill this chick? Do I not? What do I do?
But then she gives him the gun.
Yeah, because he's in a fight between the Xenomorph, and then he gives him the gun. He uses it, and then he almost gets killed again. But then Alexis uses his big spear thing and kills the Xenomorph. Mm-hmm. And the predator thing's like, damn, this chick is awesome. I'm gonna have her with me. So he makes her a spear out of an alien tail and a shield out of an alien head, which is so badass.
Yeah.
And then they kind of go along, and they're like, okay, we gotta go find these people and whatnot. And they see they find Luigi. He's attached to a wall because somehow the aliens are able to excrete like this, like,
yeah,
it's
that's what they do is because the aliens don't hunt for food, like they don't need to eat. I don't think. What they do is they will take their prey back to somewhere else. They'll immobilize them in this, secretion.
It's like kind of like how like termites and everything else kind of create like the walls of their hives.
And then they wait for the queen to produce more eggs so that the facehugger has something to latch onto, so that they can increase their progeny.
Yeah, I didn't know how to describe because I just didn't know how to describe the fact that he was attached to the wall. Yeah. But yeah, that happens, and then the predator's about to kill him with his plasma gun, and Alexis is like, "No, don't do it!" And then he's like, "Nah." Luigi's like, I'm dead.
It's too late.
Yeah, so she finds a gun, she shoots Luigi, she's all sad, she walks away. Doesn't really work because the alien comes out, and then the predator he catches the little
grabs him midair and then breaks his neck.
it's like the smallest neck stuff. Like, and at first I felt bad about the alien. I mean the Xenomorph. And then my mom saw that scene and she's like, wow, it's just like when like my family would kill chickens back on the farm. I'm like, Mom. So yeah, and then like they keep going further, and then eventually they find like this good place where they can like release the bomb and destroy them. Unfortunately, though, in the meantime, the other Xenomorphs have freed the queen at this point. So the queen is now like just going around everywhere trying to find a way to get out.
Oh yeah, well we should say that the way they free the queen
is really cool and
brutal.
Yeah.
So they use their little pharyngeal jaw tongue thingies.
Hey, you still remember what it's called?
Yeah. They attack the queen and they use the acidic blood to dissolve the chains that are holding her in place.
Because they're not trying to kill her, but they know like even they can't break the chains. Right. So the only way they can do is like to burn the chains, which kind of shows you how smart they are. Mm-hmm. Like they might not be like
they don't have speech, but
they're still like they're smart.
Yeah, and that primal instinct.
And then so like they're able to like just doing that. It's like that's terrible, but it's clever, like clever girl. So, the predator, blah blah blah. He finds it. He just throws on his bomb. He says they have a certain amount of time to escape from there, and they run away. All while they're being attacked by xenomorphs who are slowly kind of coming after them. Mm-hmm. And it looks like the predator's not able to make it, but Alexis somehow saves him. They go up this contraption where they came down. They've made it up, and the bomb explodes. And so they get up on the surface. Predator moves his mask, shows him what he really looks like. Alexis is like, "Oh, you're not too bad." And then the alien queen comes up from the bottom. I'm like, at first I didn't know how big this thing was, and then when I saw it, I was like, "Holy crap! Like, are they really gonna have to fight this thing?" Yeah, that's like immediately what the predator does. He throws his shuriken thing. He starts like trying to like it cuts it and it hurts the queen, but not a lot.
Right.
And so he just keeps trying to throw everything he has at the queen, and the queen's just like taking it. I'm like, oh my goodness, like somebody's gonna die at this point. But it's such a cool monster movie. Like I don't even care like what's going on right now. And so queen goes after Alexis, almost gets her, and then the predator like jumps up and punctures her head.
That's my favorite part of the movie is he does this like running leap,
and
then he does this backwards stab into the queen's like
skull.
neck.
Yeah, I'm just like, that is so cool. And then he gets like literally gets impaled by the alien's tail.
Yeah,
and I was like, no, you were so cool. Why? And then Alexis somehow like defeats the queen because She has this chain that gets stuck around in the middle of the fight. So she hooks it onto an anchor.
No, I think it was from when she was immobilized to produce the eggs.
No, I think that one... Either way, there's a chain on her neck, and then she connects it to an anchor, and the queen is still trying to get at Alexis, so she runs away, and the queen falls down a cliff, or was it through the floor or something like that?
This is a cliff.
And then this, like, she's already, like, sinking, and then this, like, big, I want to say silo is still attached to her.
It was like a water tower, I think.
Or maybe like a water tank.
Yeah, something like that.
So it falls through, and then she gets dragged to the floor, where she eventually just dies. And then Alexa's like, "Oh no, my bro," to the alien, because the alien's dead at this point. It really can't.
The predator.
Yeah, the predator. Sorry, the predator's dead at this point. And then she sees this giant cloaked ship come up, and then she finds the other predators who come to retrieve their brother. And I guess predator chief sees it. Mm-hmm. He acknowledges that she sacrificed, or she fought for him because the predator had put this symbol of a mark on his head and his mask, and he made the same mark on her,
right? Because she killed a xenomorph.
So that gave her the honor of being part of the hunt. So they acknowledge that, and he gives her his own spear, and they take him back. And that's the movie's starting to close out. You see the final part where the predator's on he's lying in his final resting place as the other predators go back to the control room. And then Xenomorph pops out of the predator because earlier in the film he gets impregnated by a facehugger. Yeah. He doesn't tell anybody. And yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, there's that one part where he takes off the mask for Alexis, and then just like, Rah! That could have been his way of being like, "Hey, I should probably get this chest burster out of me before it kills everybody."
Maybe. Okay, so that was actually a fun summary. Yeah. All right, what didn't you like about this movie?
What didn't I like? Okay, so just a few things.
So I think you kind of touched upon it. Like you would have wanted an even fight between the predators.
Yeah. Another thing is that, and these are just kind of logical more than like actual complaints about the movie. One thing is that, so the predators come every 100 years, and they do this ritual as a way to prove their manhood, right? So that means that only 3 predators have become of age in the past 100 years. Now, you could say like, oh, maybe they have multiple planets where they do this ritual, which, I mean, yeah, I would buy that explanation, but they never say that outright.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
What?
Like they have multiple planets. Because in that case, like nobody in that civilization would be a man.
Yeah, especially since none of them survive.
Yeah. Oh my god! Right.
Another thing is when the alien queen stabs the last predator at the end. Why didn't that kill the chest burster? Other than for the sake of convenience and set up for the sequel.
I don't know. Maybe like just barely missed it. Whatever. I'm not trying to support it. I totally agree with you but then again, I don't know. It's kind of like Luigi. Like even though it wasn't as big of damage, they shot him and the chest burster still came out. But it was still a relatively short amount of time before the chest burster came out.
Yeah, I guess.
So I think it was just more for dramatic effect.
Yeah, and then the other thing, and this one is more of like a overall complaint with the story, is I would really want to see. And, you know, this movie is fine. We can have it the way it is. But if I would like to see another Alien vs. Predator movie with the same premise, but without the human element.
Right.
Like, so obviously you have to have the humans there for the xenomorphs to, protrude from. But the main conflict of this fight is because the humans are there. They're interfering with the hunt. They take the guns, which is, one of the main ways that the Predator has to take down the xenomorphs. How would things have gone differently if the humans were not a factor? That's what I would really like to see.
That's a good point.
And I feel like a movie with like no dialogue, where it's just the Predator, communicating with each other, where we don't need to know what they say, where they're just giving each other orders of like, okay, you flank him, or shoot over there he is. We don't need to hear any of that.
Right.
So just Predator and xenomorph noises, like almost a silent film, with no words. Like that would, I feel like that could be really.
No,
cool.
I agree, because like it's not impossible,
right.
especially in that case, because there's still communication going on regardless, and you don't need to necessarily enjoy a movie just with dialogue.
Yeah.
So I actually think that's a really cool premise to kind of go about. Will it happen? I don't know, but it's an idea to put to the future. If you ever want to like have free time, like my new idea for an Alien vs Predator movie, an actual good one. I'm sorry, an actual successful one, I should say.
Yeah.
Because you and I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. What about you?
What about me? Just some of the. I feel like a lot of the humans are kind of not stereotypes, archetypes. Like they kind of just like fit the one dimension that they're supposed to be. Like
right.
you got like that one really nerdy guy who kind of like has a thing for that one like really like gruff short haired blonde girl who had the gun all the time.
Yeah.
And then that was basically their contribution to the movie, which I understand why, because you needed somebody to come like. You needed the host for the Xenomorph to come from. So emotional attachment really wasn't an issue. But then at the same time, like I didn't really feel too bad when any of the humans got killed. Only people I really cared about was like Waylon, Alexis, and Luigi.
Right.
That's really about it. And even when Luigi died, I'm like, poor Luigi. But then again, well, actually, no. I'm actually going to go back to him the first time I watched it, which I was a kid when I saw this. Probably shouldn't have. But I didn't really feel that bad when the humans died. Yeah. I still care more about, like, again, Alexis and then the aliens and Xenomorphs. I felt a little bit bad when Waylon died because he still tried to go out like a man. He went out like a man. Wasn't really successful about it, but he went out like a man. Yeah. That's really about it. Like, I mean, there like we said, plots in the story, which I mean, I think they're just oversights. They didn't really pay too much attention to that. But things I did like about the movie, awesome fight scenes. I absolutely loved it. Like the first fight between the Xenomorphs and the Predators, so badass. And just kind of the continuation about how like it kind of goes about. And the designs of the Predators and Aliens, I still loved it so much. Cinematography was actually really good. Like looking back, I'm like, yeah, it's actually not bad, like badly shot at all. Especially the perspective that you see from like, Predators, and then you never get it from the Xenomorph side, but you kind of see like you kind of take on quote unquote their perspective whenever they're freeing the Queen, and I liked how they kind of just cut to different parts of the movie in that way. What else? Acting wise, even though I made fun of them for not having any emotional attachment, I think everybody did fine in the movie. Like, nothing amazing, but it was still believable. Like, I can follow you guys to an expedition. That's cool. Ending fight was really cool. I loved that one. And like you said, that part where when the Predator, he jumps, twirls, and like impales the Queen. So cool. And like he's kind of cool about it. He just kind of like stands there for a second, like, yeah, I did that. And then, like, to be fair, that's kind of what caused him to get impaled by the Queen. Yeah. But that was still cool. And the thing is, like, it's an enjoyable movie. I still stand by that. And it has its problems, but I do enjoy what it is for what it was, because it's a movie about aliens fighting each other and humans get caught in the middle. Now, there is a way where you can make it a deeper part of it, but sometimes I think you can enjoy a movie for just what it is. Yeah, it's not really like always the goal for entertainment that way, because there's such a thing as like having higher expectations for that. But it's a nice movie where you can just put on and just kind of just bum around for 2 hours just to kind of see blood, guts, and gore. Yeah. Everywhere. So, I mean, other than things Brandon just said, the thing that I love about this movie is how much lore it adds for the Predators. Like, we have a lot of alien lore just because there's so many more movies in that franchise. Yeah. And, even in the 3 core Predator movies, like, they're not really focused on the Predator. Right. I mean, like, we do find out that, like, yes, they care about honor. They're there to hunt the strongest beings they can. They're attracted to violence and heat. Like, we get that. But those are pretty superficial things. And even if they weren't spelled out for you, like, I feel like you could pick up on those themes without it. So I love that we find out that in order to prove themselves worthy, they have to kill a xenomorph. And, they chose to do it not on their own home planet, because that would be dumb. So they take it somewhere
an expendable planet, and we find out that they have all these weapons, and you have to prove yourself as a man in order to get the classic, the signature shoulder-mounted laser thingy. I just love all those little details about the Predator.
I didn't know if you know this, but there are actually comics and graphic novels about it.
I think I did.
And like you said, they expand even more on the lore.
Yeah.
And it's really actually genuinely good. I remember just in Barnes & Nobles for like a couple of hours, then I found them. I'm like, I guess I'll try reading them.
These are like specific to the Predator or Alien versus Predator?
I mean, it doesn't focus like on the films, just kind of like on that universe.
Right.
And it's really good. Because I remember one particular one. One story dealt with a group of predators going to hunt. And this one predator, he fights the xenomorph. He gets badly injured. He doesn't die, but he's badly injured. But he kills the xenomorph. So this one predator finds like what happened. He sees it. He thinks, you know what? I'm going to take this kill.
Dang.
So he takes the head of the xenomorph. He puts it on his spear. He runs back to the group. He's like, hey guys, look what I found. He leaves the predator behind. Turns out the group found the predator. They know that that's not his kill. So they take away all of his equipment and they leave him to die on that planet.
Dang.
Yeah. It was a really good short story.
That's messed up. No, I remember that the DC Comics Twitter account a few months ago, they tweeted they digitized this comic called Superman and Batman versus Alien and Predator.
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh my gosh, I need that. So I went to Third Planet, which is a little local comic book shop over near here. They didn't have it, unfortunately, and I haven't had a chance to snag it off of Amazon yet. But I really, really, really want to read that.
That sounds bad.
Because it sounds dumb, but I don't care.
You still need to see it.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah. So I don't know what else to say about Alien vs. Predator.
Me neither. Have you seen the second one?
Bits and pieces.
Okay.
I haven't seen it from start to finish.
Okay.
I remember watching it because I remember I was at my friend's house and I saw some of it. I'm like, this is okay. I mean, it's not. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, but it's still still okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's like universally considered not as good as the first one.
Pretty badly.
Yeah. But I don't know. I still need to watch it again. Yeah. Now that I've
seen the Alien vs. Predator.
Yeah, twice in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's all we have to say. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't, I think we're about to say the same thing.
If you ever have like extra time, you want to see aliens fight each other.
Yeah.
Watch it.
And again, like watching the Alien movies and the Predator movies will really enhance your enjoyment of this if you're nerds like us. Yeah. But if
you don't need to see it.
Yeah, if you don't like. Actually, you know what? I'm really not sure if that's the case. Like, I don't know if you can watch this movie with the same amount of enjoyment, because when you strip away all of the cool things about, the aliens and predators, because they don't do any of that explanation really about, what the predators and aliens are about.
And I think that maybe that was like one of the fallbacks to the movie. Like, if you didn't know that, you kind of had to go along with the story and pick it up.
Yeah.
I think it was okay for me just because I was younger, so my imagination kind of filled in a lot of gaps. It's not the same for like someone our age, because they want to be told and like they need to know that exposition in the movie. So maybe you're right.
Yeah, I mean, without that backstory, it's still like a decent movie, probably like a 7 out of 10. But if you're into the movies like we are, then it'll definitely help you enjoy the movie more.
I agree.
Alrighty, well, we did not get any emails in the intervening time. So we will go ahead and skip straight to our final segment for the show, which is fanfic fights. So this week we have Nightcrawler from the X-Men versus Danger Duck from the Lunatics Unleashed.
Okay. Which one are you partial to?
Well, I know which one I'm partial to, but I could do either one.
Either one, okay.
Yeah.
I could do either one too. So do you want to rock, paper, scissors for it?
Let's do it.
All right. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. 2 out of 3?
Yeah.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, okay.
I thought I knew which one I wanted to pick, but now I don't. You know what? I'm gonna go with Duck.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So who wants to go first?
You can go first.
I go first. Okay. So Nightcrawler, aka Kurt Wagner. I can't do a German accent. Wagner. I can't really do it. That I can't. I told you I can't do accents. Okay, side tangent. One day in rehearsal, my director's like, you know what? You guys need to have some fun. Do your scripts in different accents. I'm like, oh gosh, this is gonna be so bad. So I did everything from like a really weird like California Valley girl to like I think I just Jamaican at some point to a really bad Aussie accent, and it's just so. But yeah, what Alex said, Kurt Wagner. He is part of the X-Men. He is probably he's not one of the best known X-Men, but he's relatively well known. He has a very interesting appearance. I really like his appearance and design. He has this dark blue skin, or sometimes it's skin, sometimes it's fur, depending on who's like the design person. But he looks very devilish, which is very strange because he's actually a very Catholic and holy man, which I always like.
Yeah.
I'm like, go Nightcrawler. That's just the Catholic in me speaking. But apart from that, his main power is the fact that he is a teleporter. So everything that he does is, and all of like his skill set is based on the fact that he can teleport. And depending on who is the writer and creator of the franchise or the project that he's working on, it's either limited to like he has to see where he's going, or he has to at least have been there before so he can teleport. Of course, you know, whenever the story calls for it, he can teleport to places he's never been to before, but that's beside the point. So continue from that. Now, Danger Duck, at first, it seems like this is going to be a really easy fight for Nightcrawler, but I will actually give it to Alex. This is not an easy fight for him at all, because the thing that sets Danger Duck apart from it is the fact that he's so unpredictable that Danger Duck doesn't even know it. So Danger Duck also can teleport as well. He also has the ability to summon these what's the name he calls for?
Like orbs.
Is it orbs? Because I know he has a name for them.
I think he calls them eggs.
Because they're essentially eggs, but
yeah.
So he can summon these eggs, and they can range from either being highly devastating, of like an energy blast, to having something filled with juice. So it depends on like what. It's a lot of times it's randomized for what happens to him. Now again, seems like a really simple opponent, and maybe at first stage of the battle it would be, but I think what Nightcrawler has the advantage over this is just quick incapacitation, because as long as he can get to Danger Duck and just he doesn't take any time to fool around, he doesn't do anything to kind of like play with his opponent, he just teleports, beats the snot out of him, and takes it away from there. I think he'd be fine. Now, I also know that Danger Duck is also very resilient to damage, just because that's how Daffy Duck is. So they had to bring that element to him. But I think that he gets beat up all the time, and he does get knocked out a bunch of times. So I think in the end, Nightcrawler will win this because, one, not only is he a skilled teleporter and he knows how to fully control his power, unlike Danger Duck, he's also a skilled acrobatist. He's also skilled in combat from hand to hand. He also is skilled at sword fighting. So that's already like a good combination of battles. And also, he's not as unpredictable as Danger Duck, but Nightcrawler has his own way of being creative and his own unpredictability. So I think in the end of the day, Nightcrawler definitely wins this fight.
So Brandon brings up a lot of good points. Definitely have to give it to him there. I actually didn't know if you knew the thing about sword fighting, but as sometimes happens, I did underestimate your knowledge of the character. So there you go. But yeah, Danger Duck. I don't really know what to say that Brandon didn't already say. The one thing that he didn't mention is that when he is in water, the orbs become exponentially stronger.
That's true.
So that's called his aquadense power. And so if he can take the fight to a water-filled area, which of course he can because they're going to teleport there, then he can turn the battle in his favor and blow things up. Also, he has long-range attack because by virtue of his eggs being, able to throw and stuff. whereas Nightcrawler has to be on top of him. And since they're going to be moving around all the time with their, poofing and quacking, because that's what he calls his teleportation moves, his quantum quack. So they're going to be, all around the place. And so, Nightcrawler has to get up on top of him, but it's not going to be easy because they're always moving. Whereas it's a lot easier to throw something long distance than be on top of somebody. I guess that's it. I mean, yeah, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is, and I won't use this as an argument, just more of a conversation. So in X-Men Evolution, there's this character named Forge. He's from the comic books. He's really gifted with machines and technology and stuff. And so he does this experiment with Kurt because he wants to try and expand his range of teleportation. And so he builds this device which allows him to slow down his teleportation so that he can find out. So they find out that he's moving through this alternate dimension, which is like all lava and there's like these horrible monsters and stuff. But normally he goes so fast he doesn't see any of that. But once they slow it down so that he can get farther, he sees all this and he gets really freaked out. So, but for Danger Duck, we actually don't know what happens. It could be like that where he moves through space, or it could be like Harry Potter with Apparition, where it just
kind of takes you away.
Yeah. You just get sucked in and sucked back out somewhere else. The fact that he calls it a quantum quack kind of implies the latter to me, but it doesn't really matter. So I would just wonder what would happen if one or the other were to pull the other through, quote, their wormhole.
So I said like they're like in the middle of a struggle,
right?
And, like one teleports them through the other.
Yeah,
I know what you mean. That's interesting.
But I mean, like, Nightcrawler can teleport other people without hurting them, but I don't know if Danger Duck ever does. I mean, he probably does. I just can't think of an example off the top of my head. Anyway, but that is our arguments. So we need to hear who you think would win in this situation. You probably want to vote for Nightcrawler because you know him better, because no one watched Lunatics Unleashed.
I did.
Well, obviously.
If I heard this fight, let's just say like you did this podcast with somebody else and I heard this, I would have totally voted for Danger Duck.
Okay. See,
even though I still support you when you're my opponent.
But anyway, let us know who you thought had the better argument. You can send those emails to abcpodcast92@gmail.com, and we'll love hearing back from you. Okay, we're going to wrap this up real quick because we've been going for a really long time. Yeah. So you can follow me on Twitter at AtariAlex. You can follow Brandon on Twitter by going into my bio, look for his username there, go over there, give him a follow as well. Also, you can find links to our YouTube and iTunes pages, and you can follow us on both, subscribe so that you never miss an episode, because we took a break. We didn't really announce the break. We didn't announce that we were coming back. So if you're not subscribed and you're stumbling across this, then that's a lot of trouble. Whereas if you subscribe, just shows up in your feed. That's a lot more convenient.
Does the work for you.
Exactly. One more time, email address is abcpodcast92@gmail.com. We really, really want to hear from you. Hopefully, if all things go according to plan, we'll be giving our review of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 next week. So if you want to let us know what you thought about it, then definitely send us an email. Or send us an email anyway, and we'll read it whenever we do get around to talking about it. But that is it for this week. So thank you all very much for watching, and we will catch you all next week.
Bye.